of injuries and poor play have made him fighting mad. Veteran players like Neil Lomax are feeling the pressure. The Cardinals are angry. And it's spectacular weather for football. The Giants coming in here with a 3-game winning streak, a game off the pace set by the Washington Redskins in the NFC East, and St. Louis right now resides in the basement. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Bender, along with the coach, Hank Stram. And Hank, Gene Stallings still hasn't posted that first NFL win. They've done some things well, but they seem to self-destruct by making mistakes.
You know, going into this game, Gary, this is going to be very much of an attitude game, I think, because the last time the New York Giants played here, they beat the Cardinals 34-3, and they left town saying that the St. Louis Cardinal team quit. Every man on the St. Louis Cardinal team that I talked to mentioned that, and they said, we'll see what they say after this game this afternoon.
Hank, the Giants, as I mentioned, have won 3 in a row, but Bill Parcells told us he still isn't happy with his team.
I think anytime that you're winning, Gary, I think that's the attitude that the head coach must take. He has to make it tougher and tougher on his team, because I think when you win, you can say anything, do anything, and it's going to be very effective, but that's a very, very good approach on his part.
And so under spectacular skies, the Giants will be kicking off. The Cardinals have won the toss. They've elected to receive. And St. Louis, 0-4, have not led at any time in any game. And you can add to that graphic that they have not scored this year in the first quarter of play. So they have not gotten out of the dressing room to the start of the games very effectively. Raul Allegra will be kicking off for the Giants. Twin safeties back for the Cardinals. Sakahima is back there. He's joined by Jans Fox, and Fox will bring it out close to the 30-yard line. So Neil Lomax will set it up now for St. Louis. Lomax suffering 4 interceptions Monday night against the Dallas Cowboys, 6 for the year. His attempts, you can see, second in the NFC. Defensively, Jim Burt in the middle. He's one of the favorite players of Bill Parcells. He says he never disappoints me. Banks and Taylor, they are absolutely as a tandem as good as anybody you'll ever see. Mark Collins coming back to start in place of Elvis Patterson, who has a groin problem.
You know, I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see him start with a pass of some kind just to keep the Giant defense loose. I don't know what they're going to do. Let's see what they do.
From the 30-yard line now, Lomax has Chaz Fox in motion. Looking that way, it's J.T. Smith. And Smith is going to get a first down out to the 44-yard line. Harry Carson over there to make the stop. Offensively, let's look at this St. Louis team. Earl Farrell has just been superb in the early going. They think he's the most underrated back in the NFL. And up front, this is a very capable offensive line. Lewis Sharp is their best pass blocker, #1 draft pick in 1982. Hank, you called it. They came out throwing.
Well, I think it was a high percentage kind of a pass, and I think, you know, they want to run the ball, basically, but I think maybe they just thought they'd try something from a consistent standpoint, get something started, and go from there.
First down now to 43. Fox in motion. Lomax going to get to O.J. Anderson, and Anderson across the 45 to the 46. Anderson has had a great deal of success against this Giant team in years past. He's had 5 100-yard rushing days as Gary Reason's in on the tackle.
You know, I think any time that you play the Giants, they have such great linebackers that really you don't know where to run. And judging from what people have done in the past and what they feel they can do, I think Carl Banks is playing so well that it's very difficult to run at him, too. Just like it is very difficult to run at Taylor.
Hank, when you talk about the Giants, everybody talks about those linebackers, don't they? From the 45 now, second down 8. Lomax, chase, give off to the near side to Farrell and almost intercepted. Mark Collins had a crack at the deflected ball. That was Banks who came through, the man you just mentioned, Hank, that got in the face of Neil Lomax.
He's playing terrifically well, has good range, and very tough at the point of attack. I don't know. I think basically it might be better to run to the tight end side on Taylor's side than it is on Banks, because he has really been terrifically outstanding against the run.
Well, what Taylor does so well, Hank, is he comes from that backside so quickly.
That's right. I think regardless of where you run, you have to have somebody on Taylor, and whether you block him or make him run around people, at least you detain his course pursuing the running back.
See, the Cards having a tough time on third down, and that's what this is, 3rd and 7. Stump Mitchell now in. Mitchell missing the Monday night game. Lomax stepping up. And really nobody open. J.T. Smith the closest to the football.
The Giants did a great job that time of camouflaging their coverage. They wanted Lomax to think that they were going to blitz him. They were all on the line of scrimmage. They made him change the play at the line of scrimmage. And then in the snap of the ball, they ran back and played zone defenses. It really confused Lomax, and that's why he threw the ball poorly.
And I think to add to that, Hank, is Lomax is struggling a little bit confidence-wise, and so you might mix it up a little bit.
I think that's very obvious.
Bill McConkey, who has just reacquired this year from the Packers, will accept the punt from Evan Rapastasis, and it's not a particularly good kick. McConkey at the 25. He'll bring it out to the 30, and he had a running area, and all of a sudden it closed down at the 34. The Giants will have it there. Stafford Mays up to make the stop, and Phil Simms will come in. He's thrown a touchdown pass in 9 straight games. He's been spectacular in the last 2 years. That was only a 31-yard punt. Watch David Galloway. He's the key defensively for the Cardinals. He played very well Monday night. E.J. Jr. is the leader at linebacker. And Leonard Smith. Coach Gene Stallings has been pleased with his play. Solomon Miller goes in motion. Joe Morris, he's going nowhere. That was Smith who came through, and help arrives. Bubba Baker, number 60, is there. There'll be a loss back to the 31, and they were sending that secondary. So Morris, who did not play last week due to that reaction to some medicine he took for his broken nose, on his first carry loses yardage. And as Bill Parcells told us, he wants to get him in gear today, get him back to the level of play that he had in 1985. And up front, Billy Ard, in the estimation of Coach Parcells, is his most consistent lineman, and Bavaro's leading the NFC in receptions.
We saw Leonard Smith came up and make that tackle that time. He's like a linebacker.
Solomon Miller was shaken up. As you know, Lionel Manuel is out, so they're getting a little thin at that wide receiver spot. Get to Morris on a 2nd and 12, and again, the Cardinals are there. St. Louis reacting very well, and teams have been running against the Cardinals very easily prior to this game.
Watch a draw play, and he starts to go to his right side, but it caves in on the backside. And Charlie Baker finally comes in from the backside and makes the tackle along with a lot of other people. But the response to that run was very good. And I think somewhere early in the game, Gary, I think the Giants are going to have to run some kind of a misdirection play, a reverse of some kind to slow down that pursuit.
3rd down, 12 yards to go. From the shotgun goes Phil Simms. There's just nobody breaking open. McConkey closest to the football. Lionel Washington defending well. That's got to be encouraging for the Cardinals, Hank. They played this series very well.
Well, you know, talking to all their players, they think that they're very capable of stopping the Giants from a defensive standpoint. The problem has been they haven't been able to maintain or establish any kind of a consistent flow offensively. So as a result, for them to get a jump in this game, if they expect to, they've got to do something with their specialty teams and their defense.
Vendetta, very fine punt by Sikahima. Has the ball, and the BYU rookie comes out there to the 50, to the 45, 40, to the 30-yard line, and knocked out of bounds inside the 25, and that's some success the Cardinals have needed.
That's exactly what we just talked about a moment ago. The defense and the specialty teams have to play on a reduced field for their offense, and that's going to make all the difference in the world, maybe give them some confidence.
Sikahima, real fine this year, a 10th-round draft pick.
And he catches the ball right where it should be caught, number high, catches it with his hands. Look at he sees a gap. And the nice thing about it is he's very decisive. He makes a decision and goes with it, avoids a would-be tackler right there, gets another 30 yards on the run, and does a great job on the return. 1st and 10, St. Louis.
A 61-yard return to the 22. Sikahima was 3rd in the NFC in punt returns, and that certainly will help his average. Cardinals with excellent field position. Lomax to O.J. Anderson. Running behind Farrell, and he got maybe 2 yards to the 20-yard line. Carson and Carl Banks made the stop. Sikahima, an interesting story. He was born on the island of Tonga, came over to the United States, went to BYU, and he was one of those guys, Hank, that always wants the football. He's a competitor.
He dances every dance, and the guys in the team love him because they know that every time he's in a ball game, anytime he gets his hands on the football, there's always a chance for him to make something happen.
He told me that they don't see the game in time there. He said it takes 2 days to get there if you fly. Second down now, 8. You understand it was a turf burn suffered by Solomon Miller. From the 20-yard line, Lomax to Anderson. Farrell throws a block. Anderson trying to get to the 15. He's got that, and he negotiates the 10 into the 8-yard line area. And Anderson, when he gets those shoulders turned up the field, he is a load to tackle. He weighs 230 pounds. Kennard over to make the stop. First down, St. Louis. Hank, this is without question the best start of the year for the Cardinals. They've had absolutely nothing go well for them early in any game.
Well, the great thing, the challenge you have, even though you have good field position and create a great opportunity for your team, the challenge is to get points in the scoreboard. That's what you have to do. Get 7 in this particular situation. And if you don't get 7, at least get 3. But in here, this situation, they got to be working for 7.
First and goal down from the 7. Farrell and Anderson, the running backs. Chaz Fox to the bottom of the screen. J.T. Smith to the top. This time, no place to go. Excellent reaction.
Leonard Marshall, number 7, he got penetration that time. It was a counter play. And any time a delay, you better hold your blocks for a long period of time. So you watch the off guard and the tackle pulling, and look at Marshall get penetration and knocks all 3 of them down in the backfield.
As you know, probably, the Giants are tied with the Bears first in rushing defense, allowing under 70 yards a game. And there's Marshall, who was spectacular a year ago with 15.5 sacks. Bill Parcells said that he just felt, I can do it. Got the confidence, and he did exactly that. Second down now and goal. Outside the 10. Anderson gets a pitch block, and he'll make it to the 5-yard line. It'll be 3rd and goal from that point. Kenny Hill, the strong safety, up to make the stop for the Giants.
You know, usually that's a tough play to run against the New York Giants because you bring the ball from the left side of the formation all the way over to the right side. And by the time you get there, usually that whole defensive team is right there to greet you. But in spite of that, he was able to pick up some yardage on the play.
Some changes being made. Gene Stallings says we just have been self-destructive all year long. We get the ball moving, then we have a costly penalty. And right now, he hopes they can execute well here on 3rd and goal from the 5.
You might see a play-action pass here back to the backside, away from the formation. Nope, there they goes.
Lomax in trouble, though. Lawrence Taylor, I should say, was there, and that is the thing that he did last week, Hank, against New Orleans. They could not get outside on him.
Boy, he is murder. See, a play-action fake. Watch 56 now. He's down a 3-point stance. And look, they're trying to block him on the outside, but in spite of that, he grabs the quarterback and throws him right down to the turf. Great play by Lawrence Taylor, number 56.
Now, the Cardinals have really been struggling in this next department, field goal kicking. The rookie, John Lee, is 2 of 6. He had 1 block Monday. Kent Austin will hold, and this will be a 30-yard field goal attempt. Lee beats some confidence. This kick on the way, and John Lee is able to hit it. His 3rd field goal to go through, and John Lee, who has just lost his confidence to the point where he says the goalposts have just shrunk, hits that one, and the Cardinals lead it. All-time leading rushers, you know about Peyton Brown and Franco Harris, along with John Riggins, O.J., Tony Dorsett. But did you know that a man in this game is in the number 11 spot? Otis Anderson. Hank, he really hasn't gotten a lot of credit for the fine career he's had with St. Louis.
I think it's typical of what happens when you don't win consistently. I think he was on the verge of being recognized around the country, and then they went back the other way, and for that reason, he hasn't been given the credit that he really deserves.
Mark Collins will bring it out. He brings it out to the 31-yard line, and the Giants, trailing 3-0, will set it up. Carl Carter made the stop. Otis, thus far in this game, has gained 23 yards, and before the day is over, he needs a total of 56 yards to get to 8,000. So there's a couple of standards he's going after today.
I don't think people realize how big and strong he is. You know, he's a very powerful guy with good speed, and he's 6'2" and about 230.
From the 31, Bill Sims with a lot of protection, on target to Bobby Johnson, and Johnson takes it inside the Cardinal 40-yard line. Bobby Johnson played his high school football just across the river in East St. Louis, Illinois.
They execute a play-action fake here, Not very good fake. They didn't put the ball in the belly of the deep back, but he runs a crossing pattern. Bobby Johnson coming over from the right side to his left. He's wide open in the seam, be in front of the defensive backs and also behind the linebackers. Nice looking play. Not much of a pass rush on the play either.
Man shaken up is Stacy Robinson. Robinson, the other wide receiver. They'll look him over after that 30-yard completion. First down when we come back. Stacy Robinson's okay, the fastest receiver the Giants have. He's on the far sideline. Bill Parcells has built this Giant team into a contender, a chance to get all the way to Pasadena. It started very slowly, however. If he'd win today, he would have his career record at 500. The first year was a tough one, and the last 2 years they've been in double digits victory-wise. Then, a little bit of difficulty. Freddie Joe Nunn was there. First-round draft pick a year ago out of Mississippi. He drops him, and there'll be a loss back outside to the 46-yard line.
Freddie Joe Nunn, number 53, blitzing on the play, was a little hesitant that time, and then finally started to come. Look at Baker, number 60, being blocked by two guys. There's Freddie Joe Nunn, number 53, coming in from the inside and making the sack on Phil Simms.
They wanted better pass rush. They got it there. Nunn has been a little confused by this new system, and they wanted him to just forget about some of the mechanics and play football. He did there. Straight ahead comes the big fullback, Maurice Carthon. He'll advance to the 40. They're still going to be 10 yards short of the first down. Carthon, in the estimation of Bill Parcells, is a single wing type player. He just goes out and knocks people down.
Yeah, he's a very good blocker and a straight ahead runner, and you know, he's the kind of a guy that's got enough strength and will go into a pile and come out the other end a lot of the time, and that's what he did in the last play.
Leave some bodies strewn along the way, huh?
Well, they're keying more so much that he'll sneak in there and make some good runs.
Third down, a little more than 10 to go. Showing the blitz, so they're going to come after him. Out of time. Now we're going to stop it. It looks like the Cardinals may call timeout. What were they doing?
No, I think it's hard to tell, but it looked like they were trying to confuse Simms and make him think they were going to blitz when they weren't. But they made him delay the game, and as a result, they got 5 yards. A great job on the part of the St. Louis Cardinals of camouflaging their defense and making the quarterback change the play when he really didn't have to.
You know what was happening? It was interesting on that, though, Hank, is that Lonnie Young was signaling like he wanted that, indicating and probably fouling up Simms even more. But anyway, the 5-yard penalty makes it 3rd and 16. Just outside the 45. Simms with time, and almost a remarkable catch by McConkey. McConkey couldn't quite hang on. McConkey, by the way, is playing with a cut forehead, and we'll develop that story. Did you hear the story last night? We'll talk about it, Hank, in just a moment.
You know, he really throws this ball exactly where it should be thrown with the coverage the way it was. He steps up into the pocket, throws it right down between the hash marks, and he makes a diving catch. And really, it looked like the ground created the fumble again that time. It looked like he had possession. When he hit the ground, it bounced out.
Landetta with the punt, trying to angle it to the far side, and it's going to make it in for the touchdown. So the Cardinals now will have it at the 20-yard line. They also have a 3-0 lead. That was a 45-yard punt.
You know, Landetta has averaged 44.9, and watching him kick in pregame and watching him in movies, he drops the ball as well as anybody I've seen.
Hank, here's the guy you were talking about that drops the ball so well on his foot.
You know, I talked to him before the game, and I asked him long enough, and it blew it right out of his hand.
That was that NFC title game with the Bears. At the 20 now, the Cardinals with a 3-0 lead. Carroll in motion. Double pump by Lomax, trying to get to Chaz Fox. A collision with Mark Collins, but there's no penalty flag. There's one of those indications, Hank, where you wonder if they are really hooking up well. Fox hasn't been in camp that long.
Well, they hardly even know each other. You know, he gets to watch now. Collins gets good position on him, turns to the inside, then they get tripped up on the play, but certainly no pass interference justified on the call.
Where have all the wide receivers gone? Pat Tilley, Roy Green out. The longest any of these wide receivers have been in camp, 12 days.
I think for that reason, I think the Cardinals have to spend a lot more time throwing to their backs than to their outside receivers.
That's Chaz Fox in motion. Second down 10. Anderson will be dropped short of the 25-yard line. That's Andy Hedden, 54, the former Clemson standout who made the tackle.
Carl Banks, number 58, the left linebacker, really did a number on Doug Marsh, who was trying to block him. He just shed the block and threw him off like he was a little paper doll.
Third down now, 6 yards to go for the Cardinals. The St. Louis offensive line has protected Lomax better this year. They gave up so many sacks, 65 a year ago, 10 going into this game. And they've run fairly effectively. It's an area that's improved, but record-wise hasn't helped. Lomax out to Sprint Mitchell. Mitchell weaving his way for the first down. He'll get out to the 35-yard line. And Mitchell, who's been playing with a knee that's had some drainage problems, really showed some excellent outside running. Kenny Hill making the stop now at the 35. You know what Bill Parcells said? He said, I'll take Stump. I'll put him on the plane and take him back with me to New York.
I got a little news for you. Yes, any coach in the National Football League and any coach in any league, and they'll all say the same thing about Stump Mitchell. And talking to him yesterday, I said, you know, how efficient do you think you're going to be from a percentage standpoint? 100%, 90? He said, right now, about 80% effective, but I'll play tomorrow.
Pretty good 80% on that last run, huh? 10-yard pickup, just short of the 35. Earl Farrell moving the pile a couple of yards to the 37-yard line. Farrell, battling back from some personal problems a year ago, has been a bright spot at that fullback spot. He weighs 225 pounds.
He's a little lighter today. I think he's had a bad case of the flu, and he's of course he's playing anyhow, but he doesn't feel too well.
Is that your analysis as a doctor, that he might be a little lighter?
Well, he told me that yesterday. I think anytime you have the flu, you're going to lose 8 to 10 pounds.
Second down. 7 yards to go. Anderson comes out of there, almost had the ball stripped, gets to the 44, a yard short of the first down. Let's go to New York now. Here's Brent Musburger.
Well, Gary, George Rogers hit his former New Orleans teammates with this touchdown. His 7th of the year rushing and the 8th straight game that he has scored for the Redskins. Skins lead 7-0. Let's go back to Gary and Hank.
Hank, we keep hearing about how good the Redskins are. They're going to be, what, a yard short, third down, coming up with the 44. St. Louis with a 3-0 lead. 3.5 minutes to go in this first quarter. Remember now, the Cardinals are the worst third down conversion percentage in the NFL.
See if they run up the middle this time. The linebackers are a little off.
A lot of congestion, but Anderson with a spinning move, very close to that first down. Just short of the 45-yard line.
You know, as tough as those linebackers are on the outside, the middle linebackers are tough too. But at least they give you a little room. It looks like the most efficient place to run in that situation, because the linebackers were off about a yard and a half, would have been run right up the center and try to get as much as you possibly could.
Giants last week against the Saints held the Saints to 1 first down and 13 yards in total offense in the second half. Playing as well as you can play defensively, and it looks like, and they do have the first down. Linebackers, you can say a lot about them, but up front they're tough. They're very, very physical. The Cardinals talking about that when you come out of a game with the Giants, you feel a little extra bump and bruise from them because their ability to swarm and come after you. Just short of the 45 now. First down, St. Louis. Fox comes to the bottom of the screen. J.T. Smith to the top. That's Farrell and Anderson in the backfield. On this play, Lomax and Anderson kind of dancing around back there. Lawrence Taylor then ended that in a hurry back at the 40-yard line. This reminder, game 2 of our NFL doubleheader. Most of you will see the undefeated Broncos, led by John Elway, take on Herschel Walker and the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas at Denver coming up next on CBS. We understand that Danny White was hurt in practice on Thursday, has a hip flexor, and will not play in today's game. Second down now. 15 yards to go. Lomax, pressure coming from the blind side and everywhere. Goes back to the 26-yard line. Carl Banks. But first it was Taylor who was storming from the backside, and then Banks came in.
You know, that kind of a call is tough, Gary, because it's a play-action pass, long yardage. Those linebackers, if they're blitzing, you know, they're not going to slow down any. It's tough to pick them up with the backs, and as a result, they get penetration. And by the time the quarterback is ready to throw after making a fake, school's out, the stadium falls in on it.
I think Lomax spelled all of that. That's a loss of 14 yards, 3rd and 29. It's a good point, though, Hank. Sometimes all that is just...
Yeah, you might, 3rd and 14, they know you're going to throw the ball. You might as well get back in the pocket and throw it.
This time he'll go from the shotgun.
He might run something from the shotgun just to get better field position for the button up.
Leonard Marshall did not get back. Penalty flag, and Lomax gets dropped again. This is George Martin, the veteran. And I believe Marshall, coming from the right-hand side, did not get back before the ball was snapped. Martin, who made that sack, in the estimation of Bill Parcells, they just can't do it without him. He is such a venerable veteran.
You know, also, when you play against the New York Giants, as great as that defense is, I think you got to keep them off balance by keeping track of what your count is on the sideline to make sure the quarterback is aware that he doesn't always go in the same count. I think you have to use quick counts and then go on 2, go on 1, go on 4, but to keep them off balance. But if you're not careful, the personality of the quarterback is that he gets in a rut.
Offside, number 70, defense. The penalties will offset. We will repeat the down.
See, they go on 2 so much that the defense gets the rhythm, and before the quarterback can get back and get set, you know, he gets shot down by the defensive lineman.
You can see both these teams have sustained numerous penalties. Atlanta leading the league, dubious distinction. So it's still 3rd down and 29 from the 26-yard line. 3-0 St. Louis. The difference, a 30-yard field goal by John Lee. Has excellent protection. Off to Stump Mitchell, makes a move at the 35, and he's going to struggle across the 40. He's still going to be way short of the first down. But Stump Mitchell, who has as hard as big as anybody playing this football game, made a lot out of nothing.
He's got a big Valentine, I guarantee you that. You got to love the way he plays. If he could only do something about develop his legs. I kidded him yesterday. I said, you ever think about getting your legs pumped up a little bit? He's got about an 18-inch calf.
So on a 4th and 14, Rapostasis will go back to punt the football from the 26-yard line.
You know, Evan doesn't like to ever try to kick the ball straight down the middle. He likes to kick it out of bounds whenever he can.
Hit this one high. McConkey is back. And we have interference. Flying down the field was Cedric Mack. Made contact before McConkey had a chance to catch the football.
You got to provide him with an opportunity to make the signal for the fair catch or catch the ball. That time he had no chance whatsoever. Cedric Mack, number 47, gives him a shot. Here you see him. The ball's coming down. Here it is. Still coming down. And right about the time it's bang, look at the shot he gets on him by Cedric Mack, 47.
I want to make a comment about McConkey. I was mentioning he's playing today.
15 yards from the spot, first down.
That he's playing with a cut on his forehead. Last night, he was dreaming he caught a football, Hank, jumped up, hit his head on the headboard, sustained the injury, finally woke up. I believe that story, don't you?
Yeah, I sure do. Yeah, I got some other ones I'll tell you after the game.
Gary Bender, Hank Stram, 7 seconds to go in the first quarter after that 43-yard punt and then the interference call. The Giants have the ball at their own 32. Sims to Morris. And Morris out to the 35-yard line to pick up a 3. It'll be 2nd down 7. Freddie Joe Nunn made the stop. And we have completed the first quarter of play. It's been the best first quarter of the year for the Cardinals, who lead it 3-0.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Miller High Life. Miller, made the American way since 1855. Mitsubishi Motors. Experience the sensation of the full line of new cars and trucks from Mitsubishi. And by the investment firm of Smith Barney. They make money the old-fashioned way. They earn it.
Hank, one thing that Bill Parcells said to us, he didn't want to give the Cardinals any success early. 3-0 is some success for St. Louis.
Well, it is. It's a lot of success for them because they played so poorly in the first part of all the games they played. But they're very capable. They just have to play like they're playing and not make mistakes, and it'll be a good game.
As we start the second quarter on a 2nd down 7, straight ahead comes Joe Morris. Checking the possession in the first quarter, St. Louis 11 minutes plus. They would have liked to have gotten that touchdown on that one drive, but they did get a field goal out of it, and that's a victory the way things have been going.
Yeah, but that's, you're a half a play out of being back in the football game, talking about the Giants.
3rd down, 4 yards to go.
When you get good field position, you got to get 7.
Sims over the middle, and that'll be a 1st down catch by Tony Galbraith. There's a guy you're familiar with, Hank, Tony Galbraith. You drafted him when you were the coach of the Saints. That was the year he had Thunder and Lightning, Chuck Muncy and Tony Galbraith.
Well, he was Thunder, and Muncy was Lightning. But the thing about Galbraith, you fall into a pattern. He's got such great hands. He's got hands like Otis Taylor, feet like Mike Garrett, and he's a terrific runner from the I formation. But he's been such an outstanding receiver that people kind of overlook the running aspect of it. And talking before the game, he loves what he's doing, but he still loves to run the football. He would like to be able to do more of it.
It's 74 catches in 1979. Here is Sims. And the catch is made. Nope, they're going to rule it out. Solomon Miller was out of bounds at the 21-yard line. The Miller coming back after that rug burn and twisted neck almost had the grab on the near sideline.
Well, they're coming off the ball. He tries to get a bump, and in the process loses a few steps. It's still... Now he makes a mistake. He looks for the ball before he should have, and that's why he lost the opportunity to make a play on the ball was thrown over his head. Had he kept watching the receiver, he would have had a better chance. Doesn't make any difference, however, the ball's out of bounds.
So if you were coaching this team, you would bring that to his attention in the film room this week.
Well, I bring it before the film room, before then, because he might do it again in this game. Those kind of mistakes you should correct as the game progresses. You wait till next week, and it's too late.
Let's go to school again here, Coach.
There you see. Now watch him look back for the ball. Right there, see? He looks back for the ball too soon, has no idea where the receiver is, and for that reason, he was open. But unfortunately for the Giants, he didn't have both feet in bounds, and they call it incomplete.
And right now, we're waiting because we've had a replay on this.
Yeah, they're playing it back, and that's a very close call.
Art McNally is the replay official.
Let's take another look at it. Watch it. Now watch number 48. Look back. Boy, it looks like both feet are in bounds.
Well, I tell you what, though, they're not going to give them to it. After give it the play to them, they're going to say that the play will stay at the 45-yard line. So it's 2nd down and 10. They were almost convinced the other way.
Yeah,
right?
if you get another look at it, looked like he might have had both of them in.
2nd and 10. Side. Pressure coming. That's Charlie Baker, 52. He has been a surprise. They feel that they wanted somebody to beat him out this year, and he's played very effectively for him.
Yeah, he was surprised himself that time because nobody touched him. Watch him, number 52. You don't see him, but there he is. He comes into the picture. Looked like a screen pass that time, Gary. Nobody even made an attempt to block him. And he had to be surprised on that kind of a play.
He sacked Danny White on Monday night. Comes back with another. We understand that the replay was just inconclusive, so they did not give Solomon Miller the reception. That's the word right from the National Football League. 3rd down now, 19 yards to go. As he said, Art McNally in charge of the replay today. Here's Sims. He covered. Ball is loose. Galloway hitting. Bob Claspy had it momentarily. They're still going for it, and the Giants have recovered it at the 30-yard line.
That's a bad play. Glaspie, number 79, all he had to do was fall in a football and be satisfied for his team to have possession on the plus 30. Instead, he tried to pick it up, and there's no way in the world you can pick the ball up when it's right down at the bottom of your feet, right below your body. Watch him now. Look at it. See, he tries to pick it up, and then he tries to run with it, gets knocked out of his hand, and for that reason, they lose possession. They should have had the ball on the 30-yard line.
They're going to get it anyway. It's 4th down. Carl Nelson, offensive tackle for the Giants, recovered for New York. Landeta will punt now from his own 15 on a 4th and 19. Takahima will return 161 yards over, the longest in 7 years by the Cardinals, and this time he is dropped at the 20-yard line.
Did you see that drop that time by Landeta? A beautiful drop, and that's why it wound up being a great kick.
Greg Lasker down to make the stop for the Giants. The Cardinals, with a 3-0 lead, will have it at their 20. St. Louis, a 3-0 lead. They took that lead at the 8:37 mark of the first quarter. Neil Lomax making his 48th consecutive start today. The unfortunate thing, Hank, is that he hasn't had his wide receivers around that much. He'd like to have them around for 48 straight.
That do make it tough. See if they're going to run left here now because of the way they're lined up tight in the left side. No, they're going the other way.
Anderson with the carry. Hank, let me talk to you about Lomax a little bit. Here's a guy in '84 that was just nothing short of sensational. He struggled last year. He's struggling this year. When you don't have your wide receivers, you can't get that timing going. It really changes your confidence problem.
Well, it changes the execution and changes the efficiency level, but no question about that. You know, Gary, I think all the coaches in the league, they feel that the receivers and quarterbacks should be in during the offseason working on individual routes and timing and techniques. And all of a sudden, you get a new receiver in 2 or 3 days. He plays in the game. It's hard to get any kind of a mesh.
2nd down now, 9 yards to go. Lomax has the protection needed. And the ball is loose, but it's going to be blown dead at the point of impact at the 29-yard line. Doug Marsh, the tight end. Marsh did not catch a pass Monday night, but he's been a very sure-handed receiver. 10 catches for the year. So they'll give him the reception to the 29. He'll still be 2 yards short, 3rd and 2.
Luis Sharp that time did a good job of blocking Taylor, and Kennard did a good job of blocking the defensive right end, Marshall. The Cardinals are using a variety of ways to block that backside, sometimes with linemen, very seldomly, however, with the back, because they think that's a mismatch, and on occasions they want to go to a left formation to put a tight end on Taylor.
Neil Lomax didn't like what he had in the huddle. He has called a timeout for the Cardinals with 10:55 to go in this first half of play. When you play the Giants, you better be aware of that backside. And this offensive line of St. Louis has been hanging in there pretty tough in the early going. Well, Hank, one thing the Cardinals want to avoid was mistakes. Thus far, they've done a pretty good job.
Well, they're playing like they're driving a Rolls Royce. They just want to keep it on the highway. Don't go off into the side roads, into the bushes, any place like. Just keep it on the highway, and it'll get there. That's the way they're playing.
After the timeout, Lomax sends Anderson in motion off to Farrell. Farrell wants to throw the football, but no opportunity, and he's going to be run out of bounds. They'd worked on that all week long, but it just didn't materialize. Let's go to New York now. Here's Brent Musburger.
Well, Gary, the Bears strike first, and it was set up on this 50-yard pass from Jim McMahon to Keith Ortego. The rookie wide receiver, Walter Payton, then scored his 6th touchdown of the season. 7-0. The Bears lead the Vikings. Let's go back to Gary and Hank.
Well, the Bears juggernaut continues, right, Hank?
They're already a great football team, no question about that. You win as often as they have won, you got to be something special. Whippley on the last play ran way too deep. Couldn't get the ball to him.
Farrell wisely tucked it under his arms. On 4th down now, Rapastathis kicking again. McConkey from the 30. Mack had a crack at him, turns back and eventually makes the tackle at the 35-yard line. We have a penalty flag, however, back at the 30-yard line. One thing about the Cardinals, Rapastathis has not punted all that well, average-wise, Hank, but they like to use him as a kickoff man. Dual performance, and if Lee's field goal kicking comes around, they feel that's a good combination.
Yeah, interesting to talk to him yesterday. You know, where's number 17? And I asked him why he wore 17. He said, well, in college and high school, I was a quarterback, and I wore 17 because my favorite quarterbacks were Jim Hart and Brian Sipe. And he said, I couldn't believe when I came to the St. Louis Cardinals, I didn't know what number I was going to get. Didn't expect to get 17.
Holding. Offense, number 56. 10 yards. Repeat the fourth down.
But when I checked in to get my uniform and my number, they gave me 17. I almost fainted because I thought that was retired here at St. Louis, and now I'm wearing 17 again, and I'm tickled to death.
Maybe they should retire. Jim Hart had such a great career here with the Cardinals. But the one thing that Gene Stallings pointed out to us, Hank, is if Lee doesn't get on track, then they have a difficult time justifying the low average punt-wise. So the combinations change, the mix changes, depending on how well this guy does, and also his partner, John Lee.
Well, that kind of pressure on him, and it doesn't help his kicking situation much either.
That's right.
Because anytime, you play with the idea of hearing the traveling music, you could be in trouble.
Traveling music comes in pretty strong sometimes. At the 46, McConkey. This time he's going to make it to the outside. To the 40. And McConkey will get to the 34-yard line of St. Louis. Finally, coming over there, the Cardinals able to ram him out after the 37-yard return. Anthony Bell, their #1 draft pick, made the stop.
Byron Hunt was out in front, number 57, trying to find somebody to block. And like usually happens on a punt return, he didn't find anybody. He was out there blocking air.
McConkey with a new life coming back from Green Bay. The Giants reacquired McConkey for a draft pick from the Packers to fill in because this guy, Mark Collins, really took a shot last week in the New Orleans game. What happened is he had his helmet knocked ajar. He ripped it off himself, tried to return it up the field, and he suffered a mild concussion in that game. So McConkey was added to the roster and is doing the job today. Here is Joe Morris on a first down. Morris inside the 35 to the 33-yard line. One thing that Collins learned, Hank, is even if that helmet is ajar, you better leave it on.
You better put a spike in it, nail it down. And after that hit, his mind was like an empty concert hall playing Chinese music.
Chinese music, huh? Where did he get that? From Cal State Fullerton? They don't have that out there, do they?
I don't know. But he thought they might have had it after that shot.
Second down, 8 yards to go. Bobby Johnson, 88 in motion. Sims. The catch by Mark Bavaro, their outstanding tight end, his 26th catch of the year. You talk about toughness. They feel that this guy is as tough as any guy that's playing the football game, and in fact they call him all jungle. He's even tougher than Tarzan.
Well, I talked to him before the game and asked him about why he felt he was able to run through so many tacklers, would-be tacklers, and he said, I've been working on the weights. Johnny Parker said he squats 3 sets of 5 with 385 pounds, and that's why he's got the strength to run through those would-be tacklers like he has so far this season.
They say that he makes Rambo look like a campfire girl. He's that tough. Back to throw Sims on 3rd and 2, and Morris can't hang on. He would have had the first down. He caught the ball about a yard short of the first down marker. 4th down coming up. That can hurt you sometimes, Hank. You miss a game, and some of those things don't happen automatically. And there was Morris not able to make the catch.
Well, also it involves the efficiency, and also sometimes there's a drop in endurance too, because playing in the game and practicing, two different things.
Raul Allegra will attempt this field goal. This is the guy that Bill Parcells is very confident with. He's 2 of 2. Last week hit 28 and 29-yard field goals. This will be a 44-yarder. Jeff Rutledge to hold. Going for the tie. Got plenty of distance on it. And he got it. And we're all even at 3. So Allegra, the former Indianapolis Colts kicker, has found a new job with New York and may have solved what has been a perplexing problem, and that is the place kicking. Don't forget now, college football next Saturday on CBS. 2 Heisman Trophy candidates. Lorenzo White of Michigan State, Jim Harbaugh of Michigan will go head-to-head. They will be going at 2:30 Eastern. We understand that Lorenzo White in that loss yesterday to Iowa sustained a knee injury, and he is questionable coming into that game. Jim Harbaugh, the coach's son. His dad, the coach at Western Michigan, and he plays like a coach on the field. It's 2:30 Eastern next Saturday here on CBS. Well, we're all even at 3 now, as Lomax will try to do something about that when he comes back in. There he is, the man who just tied it up. A 44-yard field goal. He was a very efficient kicker, Hank, for the Colts, and then he pulled a hamstring and never did get the strength back, but seemingly now he's back on track. Native of Mexico, went up to the state of Washington to school, transferred to Texas, where he's an outstanding student at the University of Texas. Jazz Fox will bring it out. And a resourceful run across the 35 to the 37-yard line. Jazz Fox, who was drafted in the 4th round by the Chiefs this year, cut, and now in the last 2 games has been playing with the Cardinals as Perry Williams made the stop.
You talk about being under control. It doesn't look like he's running very fast, but he's picking his way. He's running with his head up and his eyes open, and look at him pick his way. And the only way you can do that is if you keep your head up and the eyes open. And he got a lot more out of that return than I ever thought he would when the play started.
You're always talking about running with your eyes.
You got to run with your eyes. That's right. You put your head down, and it's like running through a tunnel.
From the 37, first down for the Big Red. Womack can't find anybody, and all of a sudden, he disappears. Leonard Marshall, Jim Burt, George Martin, all of them there on the play. Loss inside the 35 to the 34.
Watch the ground level pressure here now. Look at the push by Marshall, number 70. He's going to the outside. You got Sally coming up the middle, number 78, and they put him in the vise and finally get him tackled on the play. 2nd
and 13. What happened, Hank, is that offensive line was just shoved back in his face that time. Don't have any operating room. 2nd down now. 13 yards to go. Earl Farrell is dumped short of the 35-yard line, and that's Lawrence Taylor with a very impressive tackle.
That's one of the few times they've run a play on a quick count, Gary, and I think they have to do that a lot more, and especially on first down when they throw the ball, to keep the defense a little bit off balance, because the defense is awesome. Boy, they're murdered.
See, the Giants are the top team against the rush, tied with the Chicago Bears. So many things good about Taylor, but I think maybe it's his intimidating speed that impresses you as much as anything.
Well, the great thing about Taylor is that all the other linebackers are so good now, too. With Banks playing like he is, it's hard to attack any one particular area.
On a 3rd down, Lomax to J.T. Smith. That's not going to be enough for the first down. He caught the ball 2 yards short of the first down. Perry Williams over there to be sure he didn't make the first down.
That's a bad play, because you ought to know where you have to go to get the necessary yardage for the first down. He obviously didn't know, and he got Perry Williams turned around. He had his knees turned to the outside, had a perfect opportunity to take him deeper and make the play and get the first down, but he didn't.
Hank, he's the only experienced wide receiver they have, so if he doesn't spot that, they're in trouble.
Yeah, you see, he was disturbed with himself once he was tackled, because he knew he didn't run the pattern deep enough.
So the Cardinals will give up the football. McConkey back for the Giants at the 15-yard line. Very short punt. From the 25, McConkey has the seam, and he advances out to the 42. So McConkey just glad to be back with the Giants. He was a favorite of Bill Parcells. It was a very difficult cut to let him go, be picked up by the Packers, and he feels he's gotten a new lease on life.
I tell you something, Gary, when you're playing on a team that's 1-3 and go to a team that's 3-1, I don't care what the team is, you've got to be happy.
We're in Busch Stadium in St. Louis. We're in the 2nd quarter of play with a 3-3 tie. I'm Gary Bender along with Hank Stram. Field goals by Lee in the 1st quarter and Allegra in the 2nd quarter. That's where we stand now, as Joe Morris on a 1st down carries to the 43-yard line.
Chris Godfrey, that time the right guard was pulling on the play, was a little bit too high, used the wrong shoulder, and as a result, the defensive person dropped off and made the tackle.
He didn't do anything right. That doesn't sound like he did anything right on that play.
That's why he didn't, because that's why they didn't make any yardage. There's never any mystery with why what things happen. You got to block and
His mother likes him, though, Hank.
Oh, sure. I like him too, but he just made a bad play on the last run.
Second down.
Which anybody does.
2nd down, 8 yards to go. And that's going to be out of bounds, and Stacy Robinson couldn't hang on anyway. Al Baker puts some pressure up front. Again, game 2 of our doubleheader, the Broncos and the Cowboys. Those of you in the New York area will not see the Sega game due to the NFL blackout rule. We mentioned earlier Danny White will not play, and Dorsett is questionable with the knee injury. But when you got a guy like Herschel Walker, that kind of salves some wounds. 3rd down, 7 now for the Giants. 3-3 our score.
The way the defense right now is, it looks like maybe something in the middle would be appropriate, Gary. We'll see what they do.
Tried to go up the middle, and Bubba Baker got up and swatted it down. Baker checked in this year in the best shape of his career. He came in at about 20 pounds lighter.
Yeah, he let about 20 pounds out of the balloon, and it makes a big difference. He's coming off the ball a lot better, plus the fact that he's playing on the right side where he's able to get a better pass rush on the quarterback.
Remember that rookie year when he had 23 sacks with the Detroit Lions? The punt. Fighting chance box inside the 10. No return on it. He'll start at the 9. Greg Lasker, the rookie from Arkansas, down there almost as fast as the punt. Bill Parcells, delightful time we had yesterday with him, Hank. We would have talked all night long as we discussed his team for a couple of hours. I thought one of the more interesting things is how he built this team looking at linebackers. He's very particular about what kind of football player he wants at that spot.
Well, it's obvious he likes big people, strong people, good range, right people, and got a little news for you. Every coach in the league is looking for that kind of a player.
But as you can see, he's improved every year.
Yeah.
But what he said was only 2 players in the college draft this year, linebacker, he was interested in. He got one of them.
And his feeling about today's game has been justified because he said he's very concerned about playing the Cardinals. And I asked him, would you rather play a team that's 3-1 or 0-4? He said, no question about it. I'd rather play against a team that's 3-1 because you never know what to expect from a team that's 0-4.
Well, he said he wasn't happy with this team. They got behind last week, 17-0 to the Saints. Came back, and here they find themselves even at 3 as we come to a 2nd and 5.
But I think the big thing is I think he's very happy about his defensive group. He's just not happy enough with his offense.
It hasn't helped with Manuel out. They miss him. On a 2nd and 5, Lomax to Farrell, and Farrell is going to make it across the 15 to the 16-yard line. So it comes to a 3rd down for the Cardinals.
The way that New York Giant defense plays, it'd be good if you could play with 12 people against them. They are murder.
Looks like they've got 12 out there sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. You have to keep counting to make sure they don't have 12.
The thing that's so interesting is they, in the draft this year, have added some new faces who down the road's going to be impacting the Giants team.
If they played in the Canadian League, they'd make them play 11 against 12, I think, for that defense they have.
3rd and 2. Lomax on the double pump. And momentarily, the catch was made, but not long enough. J.T. Smith, so that's going to bring up 4th down. Pretty good coverage on that one. Had to force it a little. And now the Cardinals will have to punt again.
The nice thing about the play, Gary, he moved the pocket. He had no rush whatsoever, and I think probably as the game progresses, we might see a lot more of that kind of a pass from the St. Louis Cardinals to avoid that balanced rush of the New York Giants.
This time, it appears as though the Giants will get excellent field position. 4:11 left in the first quarter. McConkey is a very good friend of Phil Simms. Phil is delighted to have him back in the fold. With the injury to Collins, they have McConkey. He's still in 2 goals. There's a big rush put on. McConkey at the Giants' 48-yard line. Will be stopped short of the 46. Coming up at halftime on the NFL Today, Brent and Dick Vermeil with scores and highlights. And then the question is, can Herschel Walker take the Dallas Cowboys back to the future? It's all coming up at halftime on the NFL Today. That was only a 35-yard punt, but it was almost a lot shorter. They got very close to blocking the punt.
Had he taken a better angle and head for a spot in front, about 1.5 yards in front of the foot, he'd have blocked that kick.
He being Robbie Jones, who's an outstanding special teams player. Back to throw is Simms. Bobby Johnson, the intended receiver at the 27-yard line. Over there, depending on the play, was Lionel Washington. And also some help from a linebacker. Brings up second down.
Rick DiBernardo, the linebacker from Notre Dame that time, got back there in good shape.
Let's look at this play a moment ago, Hank. See how closely they came. There's Robbie Jones.
You see, had he spread out and head for a spot about 1.5 yards in front of where he kicked the ball, he'd have blocked the kick. It was too deep that time and too high.
Sims is 3 of 10 now in this game for 42 yards. Second down, 10. Joe Morris slants it across the 45 to the 43. Freddie Joe Nunn made the stop. You made a good point about Joe Morris yesterday, Hank, because at 5'7", it's tough to see him running behind that offensive line.
Well, we always liked the short running backs with our team in Kansas City because all of our linemen were so big, 6'7", 6'8", 6'6", and as a result, all of our little backs, Warren McVay, Mike Garrett, Bobby Holmes, it was hard to find them. All you saw was the top of their hat, and if they had the guards pulling, why the defensive people could never find them.
Squirt through there. 3rd and 5. Sims trying to make connections with Solomon Miller at the 25-yard line. Again, Bubba Baker putting some good pressure on from that defensive end spot. Let's look at some of that.
Watch the pressure on Sims. Galloway is coming up the middle, and watch Baker come from the outside and puts him in the squeeze that time. Right about the time he was trying to get rid of the football.
It wasn't a squeeze of affection either.
No, I wasn't.
Landeta will punt. So the Giants now had somebody offside. They're going to stop the play. On the near side, Greg Lasker had already left, was headed into the Cardinals side of the line of scrimmage, so they had to stop the play. Lasker's been down there so quickly on these punts. This time he left prematurely. 5-yard penalty, and the Cardinals, with 3:11 left in this first half, will have Sikahema just outside the 10-yard line to receive the punt.
Ball start, number 46. Offense, downfield, contacted the red jersey. 5 yards, 4th down.
See if he tries to kick it out of bounds to his left again, or whether he tries to kick an elevator ball, kick it high, and make the defensive back or the receiver catch it, and perhaps maybe force him with a fumble. Yeah, he did. Kicks it high.
And let it hit. Sikahema gets away from it, and the Giants going to down it inside the 5. Very fine execution that time by Landeta. So it's going to be a long ways to go for the Cardinals. Lomax and the Cardinals will start from the 5-yard line as Gary Reasons was down there to down the football for New York.
You know, I think a lot of people are surprised by the way this game has been played so far, but really and truly, Gary, watching the St. Louis Cardinals practice and talking to them individually, there's a lot of determination and a very strong feeling that they have to, start making something happen. As I mentioned, they all talked about the fact that, the Giants ridiculed their effort last year, that they quit and that kind of thing. And sometimes, that kind of motivation can be very dangerous when you come into a game and you're expected to win, like the Giants coming into this game.
Is that bulletin board material?
Oh, no question about it.
Lomax coming out throwing from the end zone, hits Earl Farrell, and Farrell is very close to the first down. We'll see if he had the first down, but first, let's go back for an update. Here's Brent.
Okay, we've got an update on the Washington Redskins. Jay Schrader throws this touchdown into the end zone. They were looking for George Rogers. He hits Art Monk. Extra point is good off the toe of Mark Mosley. And now the Skins have gone ahead of New Orleans 14-6. Let's go back to Garrett.
Thank you, Brent. Of course, the Redskins will get 1-game lead over these Giants. Unbeaten. It was a first down on that catch by Farrell just across the 15-yard line. This time a couple of yards, and that's all. As Farrell runs into Lawrence Taylor, it'll bring up a second down.
Watch the surge. Right up the middle. And really, either one of these teams really have really dominated the line of scrimmage. It's really been kind of a taffy pull up front.
A taffy pull or a standoff, whatever you want to call it. We have the 2-minute warning. It's all even at 3. Hank, at the start of the year, Jimmy the Greek picked these Cardinals to make it to the Super Bowl. We were in Philadelphia last week, and tight end John Spagnuolo, the Eagles, said, which year?
Well, they're playing good today. Remember, they got 12 more games left, so they could wind up 12-4.
Well, they're even right now, and that's got to be encouraging. They haven't been in this position yet this year.
No, you're absolutely right, and I think more teams lose games than they get beat, and that's what the situation here today is. They don't want to lose the game.
Second down now, 8 yards to go. Lomax trying to hit J.T. Smith at the 25. The crowd not happy with that development. Good coverage that time, and it's going to bring up 3rd down and 8. Neil Lomax, a very proud father of a son 3 weeks ago, Nicholas Ryan. He has heard the Boo Birds, and what is that? It's not a very big step to the outhouse sometimes. You can play very well, and then all of a sudden people are very dissatisfied with it.
Well, you can't worry about things you can't control. You can't control things that they say about you or write about you. You just got to hang in there, keep your feet in the fire, and play.
And that's what he's doing right now. 3rd down and 8. Stallings has all the confidence in the world, and this time he's on target. Stump Mitchell. Mitchell across the 35 to the 40, but there's a penalty flag.
Well, they dropped the flag, Gary. It's got to be a holding penalty against St. Louis. Let's see what they call.
And that's exactly what has plagued the Cardinals all year long, Hank. A big play, and they seemingly get him called back all the time.
Well, look at Gene Stallings on the sideline. He's very upset, and justifiably so. But he said yesterday, he said, every time we have a big play, there's some kind of a penalty, we stop ourselves, something happens, and there's a great demonstration of it right there in the last play.
Holding. Offense, number 64. Half the distance to the goal. 3rd down.
Hank, to amplify on that a little bit, I think Gene's almost paranoid about it. He is talking to him yesterday in the dressing room. He says, I almost look for a penalty flag when we make a big play. He said, I know I don't handle the officials well. He says, I've got to learn how Tom Landry does it, because he says, I have probably brought some of this wrapped down around my own ears, but he is really paranoid about this.
Look at the wax dripping from his ears. The officials, he's melting the wax in his ears and give him a lot of hot air, didn't he? Did you see it dripping from his ear?
We're laughing, but I'll tell you, Gene Stallings was 3rd and 17. What a costly penalty that was.
Well, Jimmy Rosser, he was giving him a little shot.
In the end zone, Lomax looks like the same play again. This time Mitchell can't hang on. It'll bring up 4th down. Taylor defending on the play. Boy, what a difference. They had it out, Hank, at the 40. Now they're going to have to punt from the end zone. I don't know. It's I think sometimes when you're not going well, Hank, you almost look and expect those things to happen to you.
Well, it's the nature of the beast. People relate to past experiences, you know, and you get in a critical situation, and something like this happened, everybody says, well, here we go again, the same old stuff, you know. And they use it as an excuse to lose rather than a reason to win.
What was that Parcells talking about? You have a rotation of excuses you can go to. You got to get away from it. The pressure. Evan gets it off very effectively. McConkey at the 48. And McConkey eventually is dropped at the 45-yard line of St. Louis. Ron Monaco over there to make the stop. The Giants have not, continuity-wise, gotten their offense on track. They have scored 3 points, as have the Cardinals. But you can see here, other than the field goal, every other occasion they've had to punt it away. 3 plays, 4, 4, and 3. As you know, Bill was talking yesterday about we've made some big plays, but he wants the meat and potatoes, Hank, the sustained drives where you're blowing people off the line of scrimmage and really getting after you.
Yeah, you have to get to a stage with your football team where you can take the ball and stuff it at the opposition and have it for 10 or 12 plays on a sustained march. They haven't been able to do that. They're getting a big play here and a big play there, but you know, that's like building on sand instead of rock.
1st down now. With a minute 30 left in the first half. Punts it off to Galbraith. He got away from E.J. Jr. and he'll get out of bounds, stop the clock, and is very close to the 1st down. E.J. Jr. had him corralled back there, and Galbraith gave him the old slip of the hip and went by him. That's what you like about Galbraith. It's not just his catching ability, but in the open field.
Oh, he's got such great feet. You know, as I mentioned, he's got feet like Mike Garrett, hands like Otis Taylor, and he's big and strong. And once he gets in the open, he's very hard to tackle one-on-one.
He's a Missouri native. He played at Fulton, Missouri, before playing at the University of Missouri. Second down now. 3 yards to go. And Galbraith has the first down as we approach 1:15 left in the first half.
There was a great demonstration of tipping a play, Gary. Anytime Galbraith is even with the tailback or with Sims, they're going to run the ball. Now he's ahead of them, you see, and they're going to throw the ball. That's normally what their tendencies are.
Galbraith gets a block and converts it into yardage inside the 15. That was Godfrey who came back. Chris Godfrey, 61, who threw a very key block on the play, springing Galbraith for a 13-yard pickup.
Yeah, we talked about Godfrey missing a block a little bit earlier in the game on a trap block. This time he was leading on the screen and really threw a beautiful block downfield.
And so a timeout called now by the Giants, stopping the clock. They have the ball at the 14-yard line. There's Godfrey. He played in the United States Football League, 2 years with Michigan, and collegiately at the University of Michigan, where he went to 3 Rose Bowls for Bo Schembechler. At halftime again, Brent and Dick Vermeil will have scores and highlights. A story about Herschel Walker. Of course, there's some talk that Dorsett will not play today, so they'll have to rely on Walker maybe once again, as they did here Monday night when they defeated the Cardinals. That's coming up at halftime. Well, that penalty comes back to haunt you even more now, Hank. You're trying to stem losing your tie at half instead of having to get up the ball a while to go and punt it out of there. Those penalties will haunt you all game long. They seemingly always rear their ugly head somewhere.
Well, the worst thing about that is, Gary, you know, you go along and you're doing the same thing consistently, and all of a sudden, you know, they call you on a play, and it's the same kind of a play and the same thing you've been doing for maybe 15 or 16 or 17 plays, so you never know when it's going to count.
Giants have 2 timeouts remaining now. At the 14-yard line, first down. Sims with all kinds of time. And almost picked off. That's Mack. Sims that time had all day to throw the football.
Yeah, there was no rush whatsoever, and he was trying. He looked to his left. Washington's in a bump and run here. And gives him a shot. Bobby Johnson gives him a shot to line of scrimmage. They wind up in a zone defense. Watch Cedric Mack, number 47. He's looking at the ball, trying to find a receiver at the same time. There he's backpedaling now. The ball's thrown. He leaps up into the air way over the top of both defensive back and the receiver.
Second down from the 14. 52 seconds left in the first half. Sims, Stacey Robinson, and he didn't get it. The official right on top of it. Sims obviously did not agree, as Stacey Robinson could not come up with it.
Boy, he had a one-on-one. That's exactly what you like in this situation with Wayne Smith on the right corner. Good protection, throws it, he goes in and out. He hasn't beaten on the play. The ball is a little short and a little low, and it goes right through there for a 2-point play basket.
Wayne Smith obviously very pleased he didn't come up with that one, because he had Smith turned around.
Wayne Smith is a very fast guy and great on up patterns. With any kind of an individual move, you make one move and back out to the other side. He gets licked on those kind of plays.
Third down from the 14-yard line. Sims over the middle, and Lionel Washington had a crack at an interception. Bobby Johnson, the intended receiver, and some very good defensive effort by the Cardinals. They dodged 3 different potential touchdown passes, and they're going to make the Giants settle for a field goal.
Well, you talk about dodging a bullet. They got to be happy about this. Come out of here with just 3 points, if provided he makes the field goal rather than 7.
Raul Allegra, who earlier booted one 44 yards, this time will attempt a 31-yarder. Seconds left in the first half. He gets it up very quickly. And he's got it. And he is 4 of 4 since joining the Giants. And Bill Parcells said he solved that place kicking situation. He was the 3rd kicker this year.
Nika Nogas yesterday said, Coach, I guarantee if they're going to score, they're not going to get 7. They're going to have to kick field goals. And so far, he's been very prophetic. You see what happens in the second half. Of course, I think the Cardinals have played a very emotional game in the first half. Whether they can sustain that emotion in the second half remains to be seen.
And you wonder how the Giants will come out if they did like last week when they just shut the Saints down. Next Saturday on CBS, we'll be in that magnificent stadium in Ann Arbor, Michigan, as the Wolverines will play host to Michigan State. Last year, Michigan won this game very convincingly, 31-0. But Lorenzo White and the Spartans would like to change that. There is some question as to whether White will play. He's having some knee problems after that loss yesterday to Iowa. And Jim Harbaugh, who seemingly never makes a mistake for Bo Schembechler's club, will lead the Wolverines in that game. It all starts 2:30 Eastern here on CBS. The Wolverines unbeaten, ranked 4th in the country. 6-3 now, the Giants. Game of field goal. Here's Squib kick this time. Chaz Fox has it. And Fox will be dropped at the 23-yard line. Pepper Johnson, a rookie linebacker out of Ohio State, making the stop, number 52 for the Giants. We understand that Joe Bostic, the right side offensive guard for the Cardinals, having some knee difficulty, some fluid on his knee. They took him in. They'll look at him and will upgrade his status in the second half. Well, Hank, with 35 seconds left here at the 25.
I think you got to be careful, that you don't make a mistake here trying to get something right before the half in 35 seconds and provide the Giants or the opposition with an opportunity to make another big play. What they do has to be a high percentage kind of a thing. There it is. They'll run a screen or a draw or something short, but they're not going to take a chance of throwing an interception to provide the Giants with another opportunity to get another 7 or 3 points before the half.
Mitchell, the intended receiver, that'll stop the clock with 31 seconds. Scrimmage, the 25-yard line. St. Louis thus far 2 of 9 on 3rd down. Stallings working the officials a little bit on the sideline again. Says, I've got to get better at it. There's a penalty flag.
Ball start. Number 58 on the offense.
58 is Gene Chilton. He's the rookie out of Texas. Plays both a center and a guard spot for the Cardinals. So they'll back up inside the 20-yard line.
Yeah, I don't know how that happens because he's playing right next to the center, watching the ball, getting a look at the ball. I don't know how he would jump offside, especially in this kind of a situation on a pass block.
And he's the center on top of that. He should know the snap count, huh?
Right.
Training. He was their 4th-round draft pick. They called him, you've heard about the refrigerator, and they want to reset the game clock. They took a couple of seconds off, but Chilton had a nice nickname. They called him the Coke Machine. Everybody's getting these new labels.
Yeah, the only one that really sticks, however, is the one they give the first guy, like the refrigerator. Everything else doesn't mean much.
They've got the freezer. They've got them all, don't they?
That's right.
It helps when you have ability to go with the nickname.
That's right. And it helps when you win big. You win every Sunday. That makes a big difference, too.
So they put the 2 seconds back on. Really academic. Cardinals like to just really get into the dressing room now. They're backed up deep in their own territory inside the 20 of the 2nd down and 14. Not very many options available now. Farrell will come up the middle, and Farrell is going to make a 1st down out to the 40. Conservative call and a very wise call under the circumstances, and surprisingly picked up that much yardage.
Yeah, that's as I mentioned, you got to use high percentage things, make sure you don't make a mistake, and in the process, if you can get it down there close enough, kick a field goal, that's great. But you're not going to take a chance of giving the ball to the opposition.
Kenny Hill getting up, and he sustained some type of an injury at the 45. Coming out, one of the trainers look at him. There he is. He's limping. Bill Parcells called him my little genius from Yale, playing in that strong safety spot. Well, they'll check Kenny over. Today on the NFL Today, we had an interview with Roger Clemens, and I'm sure Bill Parcells would have been very interested in it. He is a big Red Sox fan, and the reason, Hank, is he said his dad, who he loved very much, was an obnoxious Yankee fan. He says it's the only thing that he ever thought his dad was obnoxious about. It drove him away from the Yankees, and he became a Red Sox fan because he felt that was the only team that could beat the Yankees.
But it's hard to imagine that the coach of the New York Giants would be anything but a Yankee fan. Isn't that right?
That's right. What if the Mets get in? What happens then?
Well, you change flags.
Well, a first down now. Cardinals with one timeout remaining. They have it at the 39. 6-3. New York with the lead. 22 seconds left in the first half. Here's Mitchell. And he's going to get out of bounds and lose a yard. Is an unhappy crowd. It didn't start today, Hank. It started Monday night, and it's carried over. And this was a team that last year got out of the chute very effectively. They won 3 and dropped 1. Then things started to fall apart, and they've lost 6 straight going back to last year.
They've lost so many people, and of course, if you're going to be a good football team, you got to win in spite of that, and they just haven't been able to do it.
Second down, and through pressure, getting the ball off to Stump Mitchell, and they get 2 or 3 yards back. It'll come to a third down.
Martin got through there like he was in their huddle.
That's right. He knew something, didn't he? Now
sure
another
did.
timeout. St. Louis will exercise their last timeout. So with 7 seconds now, Gene Stallings doesn't have a lot of options. Here was a man who played for the Bear Bryant, later coached with him, 14 years an assistant coach with Tom Landry. Said he learned from Landry, Hank, organizational ability and poise. From the Bear, the fact that you have to earn the respect of your players.
Well, you know, talking to Gene Stallings, if you close your eyes, you think you're talking to Bear Bryant.
Yep.
The only difference really is that you can understand Gene a little bit better.
That's a good story, because I was doing a game in Alabama. I went on the tower with the late Bear Bryant, and I honestly could not understand a word he was saying, but I was so impressed I acted like I did.
Well, the thing about the Bear was you had to understand. If he wanted you to know something, he'd tell you. You'd understand him. But when he didn't want to, why, then, of course, he'd mumble, and after you got through, you scratch your head and try to figure out what he said.
But you're afraid to ask again, right?
That's right, yeah.
But he did sound like that, and I guess when you're around the guy that long, it really rubs off. Gene, of course, was in that the Junction City gang, remember, down there in Texas, where he took them all in a pit and see who could survive the football program at Texas A&M.
They're going to put 3 guys on one side and try to throw the ball down deep and hope maybe they get a big play or a pass interference or something.
On the 3rd and 6, Lomax can't find anybody. He goes down, drop at the 40, and with 2 seconds now, they'll start it up, and we have come to the end of this first half of play. So it's been a battle of field goals thus far. Lee kicking 1 to give the Cardinals the lead. Allegre coming back to kick 2 in a row for the Giants. That's the end of the first half. The score, the Giants 6, the Cardinals 3.
For me, I'm Brent Musburger. Dick, I think a lot of folks are surprised, but you say Gene Stallings' defense is pretty good.
They're good, but the offense is banged up. They don't have Green, the big point guy, and it's hard to score enough points to win. That's all there is to it.
Well, the Giants had to settle for a couple of field goals, and they lead at 6-3. Let's get you up to date. Shocker again coming from the Eagles on the road against unbeaten Atlanta. They lead by 10 points, and Dan Henning is finding out that Buddy Ryan's run defense is setting up everything for the Eagles. Botched up handoff here, and it is recovered by the Eagles, and the defense picked the tempo up because that was a possible Atlanta score. Then Riggs left with a concussion, and he has not been back. And the Eagle offense put together a touchdown right here, Dick.
Jaworski executes nicely an inside the 20-yard line pass to Mike Quick, the left-hand corner of your screen. Diving catch. That's the reason he's an all-pro.
And McFadden kicked a 31-yarder to make it 10-0. Luckhurst has missed a couple of field goals for Atlanta. New England all over Miami. It's going to be a terrible year for the Dolphins, but the Patriots have lost Tony Eason, shoulder injury. He has gone for an X-ray, and Steve Grogan will play in the second half. The Raiders in Kansas City. The Chiefs hit the Raiders with 17 unanswered points, largely because of Raider turnovers. Then the Chiefs turned one over, and the Raiders got on the scoreboard. Washington and New Orleans, and the Redskins, one of the 4 unbeaten teams left in the league. They are down in the Superdome, and the big man is George Rogers. He's doing a job for Coach Gibbs, Dick.
He is. Now watch here, Brent, the power of the big man going into the end zone. He smells that goal line. You can't stop him.
And they were looking for him on this play.
They throw the pass to Monk. Looks easy this way, doesn't it?
Sure does. And Morton Anderson, a 45-yard field goal, runs his streak to 20 straight field goals. That's 3 behind Mark Mosley's record. Cleveland and Pittsburgh, and Gerald McNeil, the Ice Cube, he stands all of 5'7". He returned a kickoff 100 yards for the Browns to put them ahead of the Steelers 17-14 at the half. Detroit all over Houston. Hippo went to Hunter from 18 yards out late in the second quarter, and that gave the Lions the edge in that game. Cincinnati has jumped on Green Bay. Brooks from 9 yards out pushes that to 20-7. Minnesota and Chicago. The Bears lead the Vikings 10-0. Bear defense held the Vikings to 38 yards in the first half. Jim McMahon didn't appear to have a sore arm here, Coach.
No, he hits Ortega down a 50-yarder, puts him right on the 2-yard line, gives now the man a chance to take it in.
And you know who that is, Walter Payton. And this is his 6th touchdown of the season. They weren't even using the fridge to open the hole. He can still score without it. So it is 10-0.
That's an easy call.
It sure is. Last week here on CBS Sports, we had a poll. Do you favor instant replay? We had an amazing turnout. 174,000 of you took the time to call on the telephone or register your vote. Those who want to keep instant replay just as it is, 51,000. Keep it but revise it, 78,000. Throw it out, 45,000. The final percentages look like this. Keep it but revise it, 45%. And we want to thank all of you who participated in that poll last Sunday here on CBS. And the NFL Today will continue right after these messages from your local stations. Welcome back to New York. And you know, coming up a little bit later today on CBS, most of you are going to be seeing the unbeaten Denver Broncos host the once-beaten Dallas Cowboys. The rest of you will watch Tampa Bay against the Los Angeles Rams. For the Cowboys, they're without Danny White today. They're without Tony Dorsett, but they do have Herschel Walker. And that gamble to draft Walker is already paying off. In fact, as Gary Paul Gates found out this week, Herschel's presence in Dallas has given Cowboy fans such a lift that they're now looking toward a future as bright as their not-too-distant past. A time when Dallas and the rest of Texas had struck it rich.
Back in the 1970s, the eyes of Texas were glowing with dollar signs. While the Yankees up north suffered through gas shortages, Texans were swimming in black gold. And no oil baron had more fun than J.R. Ewing, the dude with the all-American sneer. Except perhaps the state's other great source of power, the Dallas Cowboys, who rolled to 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. Well, times have changed. The oil boom went on to become the oil glut. Texans are no longer building castles in the sky, and the Cowboys also have been brought down to earth. But here in Dallas, where pride and swagger are a way of life, the folks don't like to admit that.
It's almost like the bragging Texan who will talk about the economy around here, and he'll say, we don't have a recession, but our boom is not quite as good as it used to be. Well, that can almost equate to the Cowboys.
In the 80s, others lowered the boom on the Cowboys. They usually made the playoffs, but in Dallas, that's not good enough.
The only measurement of a successful season was a Super Bowl. Maybe we pressed ourselves a little, and I hope that, and I think that we've gotten back down to reality and have done things, you know, very staid, like drafting Herschel Walker.
There's nothing staid about the world Herschel now finds himself in. Out of this down-home setting came the first generation of Cowboy stars, like Dandy Don and Big Bob Lilly. In those days, Texas could also boast of politicians who were homegrown. But the current favorite son is a New England native, who, in the view of some fellow Texans, is all hat and no cattle. And over the years, the Cowboys were recast in a new image.
White hats and, you know, crooked smile, straight teeth, Sunday school. That's been the image. It hasn't always been true, but that has been the image. Vanilla ice cream.
They are the Dallas Cowboys, America's team.
So far, everyone has said I'm fitting into that image. This is a class organization, and, you know, it's one of the few places I've been where people really brag about the state they're in. You know, they brag about, let's brag about Texas, let's brag about the Cowboys. And, you know, I think just by listening to that, that just shows that you're in a great place.
And so we asked these Midnight Cowboys what they think of their new hero.
I think he's the answer to a lot of Dallas's problems in the past. He reminds me just bulldogging like Walt Garrison. I mean, he just goes after it.
If we're going to be successful in the next years, I think we've got a pretty good start in a player like Herschel Walker, because he's the type that you have to have if you're gonna win the big one.
For CBS Sports, I'm Gary Paul Gates.
Well, Irv Cross is with us now from Denver. Irv, what do the other Cowboy players think of Herschel and that big contract?
Brent, you know, it would be an understatement to say the Cowboy players and staff are ecstatic about having Herschel Walker here. Forget about the contract. They really like him. He's a personable young man. He has great work habits. He's the first one in team meetings, take notes on everything, and he's trying to do everything he possibly can to contribute to this ball club. He's a complete team player, and they love him.
All right, Irv. Coach Vermeil, have we overhyped Herschel Walker? How good a football player can he be in the NFL?
Well, I don't think we've overhyped him. Tom Brookshire and I had an opportunity to really spend some time with him a few weeks ago, and he leaves you with the impression that he has the personal stability to handle all this hype and really do a super job with it.
All right, thanks, Dick. And right now, let's send you back to the stadium and the game you're enjoying on CBS.
Halftime, the Giants leading the Cardinals 6-3, and Hank Stram in time of possession. It was the Cardinals, but, you know, last week, Phil Simms had 286 yards passing, only 45 at the halfway point here.
I think that the St. Louis Cardinals, they use a lot of man-for-man coverage, and they're disguising the coverages very well. I think the problem with both teams, really, they're doing a very poor job on 1st and 10. For example, the Cardinals are averaging 1.5 on 1st and 10, and the New York Giants are only averaging 3 yards on 1st and 10. Both teams have to do a much better job on 1st and 10 to do a more efficient job of moving the football in the second half.
Hank, the Cardinals need better field position. They've not had it in the first half. On the other hand, you see here, the Giants have had very good field position.
Well, that's the problem. I think that Coach Parcells has to be disturbed about the fact that, you know, good field position is important, but only important when you make points. And they haven't been able to do that. They have to take advantage of those opportunities, or else it's going to be a tough afternoon for the New York Giants in the second half.
Giants looking for their 4th straight win. They lead at the halfway point 6-3. CBS Sports coverage of NFL football will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Miller Lite. For great taste, there's only one light beer. MCI Communications for the next 100 years. And by Chrysler Motors and its automotive divisions, Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, and Dodge Trucks, working together to be the best.
Busch Stadium, St. Louis. Arapastasis will be kicking off to the Giants. McConkey along with Mark Collins back deep. 6-3, the Giants in the lead. McConkey's going to bring it out. And the former midshipman from Navy brings it out to the 20-yard line where Carl Carter makes a stop. And Phil Simms will bring his troops in there. Simms, coming into this game, had thrown a touchdown pass in 9 straight, and of course not getting a touchdown in that first half.
You know, McConkey is basically fundamentally sound as he is, and everything that he does, it's amazing. Every time he runs to the left, he's got the ball in the wrong arm. He has it in the right arm, Gary, and, you know, it creates a lot of fumble situations if you're not careful.
From the 20-yard line, Bobby Johnson in motion. Joe Morris, who was shut down in that first half and continues to be shut down. Al Bubba Baker. Hank, Bubba Baker's playing a whale of a game thus far. He's been all over the place.
I was just standing on the sideline yesterday watching practice, and he was talking to some of the other defensive linemen, and I was really impressed with the attitude he had about the team being called quitters last year. He kept belaboring that point at the sideline, and he looks like he's playing with a lot of emotion here this afternoon.
6'6", 270. He made the stop there, a loss of a yard. 2nd down and 11 now for the Giants. Simms with protection. Carthon, the fullback, caught it, and he'll make it out to the 22-yard line. Maurice Carthon only had 3 catches prior to that one. They do not throw to him all that much. His main asset, a punishing blocker. He'll knock people backwards. He'll exit the game, and it's going to bring up 3rd down and still 8 yards to go. Carthon played for the New Jersey Generals of the USFL. Joe Morris loves to have him in that backfield with him.
You know, I can't understand why they haven't thrown to the tight end more than they have so far, Gary.
Only 1 catch by Bavaro. He came in with 25, an NFC leading figure. Sims, and there's what you were talking about, and they cannot make the connection. Bavaro covered very effectively by Leonard Smith.
And they got the situation they wanted. They wanted Bavaro to work on Leonard Smith, number 45, man for man. The ball was thrown a little bit high, but usually he sucks those right up.
Well, the Giants, who started so effectively in the second half last week, misfire on their first series, and Bavaro doesn't say an awful lot. He just plays hard.
It looked like he was slow getting his hit around that time and didn't see the ball quickly enough.
Vendetta to Chaz Fox from the 31. And Fox again doing a good job, brings it out to the 35-yard line. There's a penalty flag back at the 25, however. Chaz Fox, for a guy who has not had that much playing time, has shown some pretty good decision-making as far as returning punts. That was a 47-yarder. They're going to bring it back. Chaz Fox comes from a very interesting background, Hank. He's a
number 52 kicking team. Illegally downfield, 5 yards, 4th down.
He is an Air Force brat. His father, Charles, is a colonel and commander at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. He was Furman's all-time leading receiver, was drafted in the 4th round by Kansas City, and Cardinals feel fortunate they got Chaz Fox, as desperate as they are for wide receivers.
Well, you know, one thing, that's a good way to look at it, but on the other hand, they have J.T. Smith, and he was cut by the Kansas City Chiefs playing as a regular here, and now they got Fox, and he was cut by the Chiefs, so
what does that say?
What does that tell you?
So Landetta will punt it again. Fox calls, make that Sikahima calls for the fair catch, and he took off afterwards. Let's look at the drop again. A little coaching here from Henry Stram on the drop of the football for Landetta.
Well, it's no coaching, except it's a good observation here to see how well he drops. Look at how flat. Look at how even he drops the ball. Look at the drop. Hits it right on the instep perfectly and gets off a great kick. But he drops the ball as well as anybody I've seen in a long, long time.
You know, you're one of the few coaches, Hank, that'll talk to kickers. When you go over, you love to talk to them, don't you? Visit with them.
Well, nobody spends much time with kickers. They all say we don't bother the kickers because we don't want to ruin their kicking style, which I think is an excuse rather than a reason. I think he's a player on your team. You ought to do everything you possibly can to help him.
On the first down at the 45, Farrell fumbles the football. Lomax appears to have recovered it at the 36-yard line. That was Taylor that came storming through. Collins was there as well. And we have a man shaken up for the Cardinals.
Here's a reverse pivot and a toss to Farrell, number 31. He gets decked on the line of scrimmage. And it looked like Perry Williams came up quickly and made the tackle.
That's J.T. Smith, Hank, that's shaken up.
Yeah, and the ball was popped out of there and recovered, it looked like, by Neil Lomax.
Well, I don't need to tell you they can't afford to lose another wide receiver. This is the only experienced wide receiver left, and that's J.T. Smith. So they're going to check him over. Looks like they're holding the left wrist. We'll be back to upgrade his status. 6-3, the Giants with the lead. Taking that left forearm of J.T. Smith. He's come out of the ball game, and a rookie, Troy Johnson, number 87, replaces him, the wide receiver. So 2 rookies been in camp less than 12 days. Now the wide receivers for Neil Lomax. 2nd and 19.
That time Taylor came in the inside. Nobody picked him up, and he got penetration, made the sack.
There's a penalty flag, however.
Watch him. Say he's lined up on the outside and goes inside. Louis Sharp and Kennard missed the assignment. they wound up blocking 2 guys blocking 1, and as a result, Taylor was wide open on the inside. Here you see him on the inside. Look at that. Kennard and Sharp both wound up blocking Leonard Marshall, and Taylor was left free on the play.
Boy, he was through so quickly. Taylor's won every award possible, every honor. The NFL Most Valuable Player defensively twice, and after that sack, it's now 3rd down and 27 yards to go. The second sack, as you can see, of the day. The Cardinals are in reverse right now. Lomax trying to get it back, overthrows his man, and it's picked off by Kenny Hill. That ball not well thrown. It was Doug Marsh that tied in on the crossing pattern at the 50. The ball was some 5 yards thrown overthrown.
That was a read pattern, Gary. The middle was wide open, and he tried to hit the ball. He made an adjustment, went right down the middle, and look at how high he throws the ball over Doug Marsh, and Kenny Hill, number 48, comes up with the interception. Just a bad throw by Neil Lomax.
It's really the only poor pass he's thrown today. And at the 45-yard line now, after Hill's interception, his 3rd of the year, sets it up at the 45 of the Giants. Joe Morris. Morris still, as Bill Parcells wanted to have happen, hasn't gotten in gear. He hasn't gotten that running form back that was so effective last year. He gets out to the 50-yard line on this one. It'll be 2nd down and 5.
You know, the other thing, Gary, the St. Louis Cardinals are playing a lot of man-for-man coverage on 1st and 10. They're 1-on-1 on the outside receivers, and I'm surprised they haven't thrown the ball more on 1st and 10 to their outside people.
Here's Carthon. Fullback takes it to the 46-yard line. Going to be about a yard short of the 1st down. 3rd down coming up. The Cardinals have shut down the run very effectively. They've had the number 1 pass defense coming in here, but I think that's misleading a little bit. When you're number 1 in pass defense many times, and in this case, means that teams are just not having to throw the ball.
Well, they've averaged, you know, team playing against the Cardinal defense, they've averaged 36 runs a game and only 21 passes. And so it's very easy to understand why they're doing so well on pass defense, because people don't throw nearly as much, but they're still doing a good job. I don't care what the stats say.
3rd and 1, and Morris will get it. Joe Morris runs over Lionel Washington, who will be credited with the stop. But the former Syracuse standout gets the 1st down, and it will be marked at the 43 of St. Louis. Morris at 5'7", 195. We talked about the fact that he just disappears behind those offensive linemen. But another thing that he seemingly has, Hank, is that ability to bounce off of people like a bowling ball.
Well, you ask big linemen whether they'd rather tackle a great big guy or a little guy, and they all say they'd rather tackle a big guy because it's harder to get low enough to block the little guy.
Sims on a 1st down. And he has the completion to Bavaro. Bavaro inside the 30 to the 33, very close to another 1st down.
Now here's a play action fake this time. The backs go one way and Sims goes the other. Watch Bavaro on the right side run a crossing pattern, get behind the middle linebacker in good shape. Nika Noga. The ball is out in front. He makes the reception, and Smith, who is covering him man for man, finally makes the tackle from the backside.
He came in here with 25 catches. The pace he's going, he'd have a 100-catch year. That would be an awful lot to expect. 2 today. He caught 7 last week against New Orleans. He played with a chipped or fractured tooth last week. He got shaken up early, came back in the Saints game. And when Bill Parcells was looking at him when he played at Notre Dame, the scouts told him that he would love him because of his toughness, and that's been the case. There he is right now with 27. He had 25 prior to today's action, and now 1st down at the 33 of the Cardinals.
So they got 1-for-1 coverage in the outside people again. Let's see. Oh, here's a reverse.
Johnson's going to throw it. And a struggle going on. A flag. Lionel Washington along with Stacy Robinson contesting for the ball, and I believe it's going to be 1st and goal at the 1.
It looked like he backed into him. Talking about Washington, 48. Let's see what they call here.
That's what it's going to be.
Yep.
Washington had 2 interceptions Monday night. This time, real struggle going on.
Defense bumped them beforehand. 1st down.
Boy, is that a costly penalty.
We'll see it again. Watch 48. Here's the reverse. And now the pass. Watch Washington 48 turn and run. The ball is thrown. It's up in the air. And he backs. Yeah, he backs into the receiver. Washington does, and they call pass interference on the play.
After Hill's interception, now the pass interference sets it up first and goal at the 1, and Joe Morris tests the right-hand side, and there's no indication as to whether he got in or not. The Giants thought he did. The officials have not substantiated that at all. Trying to find him. Joe's small, but he's not that small. There he is. Touchdown. One thing about there's a good picture of Gene Stallings. He's got to be disappointed, bitterly disappointed. But here again, he gets good and low and breaks the plane. It's hard to see it, but evidently he broke the plane, and they have another 6 points on the board. Boy, the penalties have come back to haunt him again, hasn't it? That pass interference at the 1. Morris capping it with a 1-yard smash. 5 plays, 55 yards. To attempt the point after, and he got it down the left-hand side, but between the uprights. 13-3 the score. 9 minutes, 40 seconds to go in the third quarter. Hank, last week it was a strong second-half effort by the Giants. They're starting the second half like they did a week ago.
That's right, and I think that it's the toughest thing in pro football is to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat. And I don't care how much you talk to your team and what you tell them, it's very difficult for them to understand that it's going to be a tough game. They have to play to the utmost of their capacity, and that's what happens. But the important thing, really the only thing that matters, is you win the game.
Chaz Fox will bring it out. Bill Parcells was quoted as saying, after last week, it tells me we think we're supposed to win. Now, it makes him a little uncomfortable because of that. You get into that mode.
Well, I think the important thing, too, is, as I mentioned earlier, it gives you a reason as a head football coach to harp on your team and get their feet back on the ground and make them realize that anybody can win. They have to play well, and you have to have something to gripe about. But the big thing is that in the process of that growth and development during the course of the season, you've got to still win. And then as long as you win, everything else takes care of itself.
When you won the Super Bowl, did you do much griping at your team that year?
Oh, we squeaked quite a bit. Yeah, there was a lot of squeaking going on. But the big thing is we won 20 of 23 games.
There's a penalty flag as O.J. Anderson carries it out to 29. Is squeaking the same as complaining?
Yep.
This telecast is presented by authority of the National Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals.
10 yards, first down.
And the National Football League is prohibited. So that is Randy Clark, the center, guilty of that penalty. And so it'll come back now to the 17-yard line. And right now, Hank, you get the feeling the Cardinals are saying to themselves, boy, we've been here before. This is deja vu, and they got to fight through that right now.
Well, in this kind of a game, when the underdog team is playing pretty well and playing close, everything's going along fine. But the minute they get behind, then you see another team on the field, and you have to watch what's going to happen from here on in with this Cardinal team, whether they'll continue to play as well as they did in the first half.
First and 20 after the penalty on Randy Clark. Omax will roll out. He gets it off to Anderson. They don't get much on that one, if they got anything.
See, that kind of a play is like throwing marshmallows at a battleship. It doesn't do much good because you roll out, you throw the ball, he catches it, and you wind up with a 1-yard gain.
What was that? Marshmallows at a what?
Battleship.
All they got on that play was nothing. Second down. Second and 19. Next Sunday on CBS. Those in the New York area will see the Eagles take on the Giants at 4 o'clock Eastern. Don't forget, it all begins with the NFL today at 12:30 Eastern time. The Eagles righted themselves last week in that victory against Los Angeles. Buddy Ryan may have that team on the way. Second down, still 20 yards to go. Misdirection play, and it gets the pass out to Doug Marsh, and he's very close to the first down. Marsh out to the 37-yard line. Very well executed that time, and Marsh eventually tackled by Terry Kennard.
Yeah, play action fake that time with both the guard and the tackle pulling, and Lomax rolling to his right. Doug Marsh, number 80, was wide open in the seam of the zone. He got the ball right on the numbers, and they pick up a nice gain and a first down on the play.
It is a first down. Marsh has been a starter since his rookie year. He came into the league in 1980. Second-round draft pick for the Cardinals. From the 37, new life now for St. Louis. 13-3. The Giants with the lead. Marsh in motion. Lomax. Oh, what a hit is put on this time. Marsh somehow held on. I don't know how, but he was belted by Perry Williams at the 40-yard line.
Perry Williams hit him square and hit him high and really decked him on the last play right about the time he made the reception. It's a wonder, as you mentioned, that he hung on to the football.
Let's look and listen to it. Let's just not say a thing here. That was even louder that time, wasn't it?
That was a smash. That was a smash.
Second down, 6.
So they ought to go up on top now. They got one-on-one coverage, man, bump and run defense. He's changing the play. Let's see what he does. He runs the ball.
Boy, you were disappointed. Oh, Jay Anderson.
They had everybody but the defensive coaches coming that time, and he didn't change the ball, change the play. I think there's about 10 shots in a game where you had a chance to make a big play, and if you hit 3 of them, that's 21 points. There's a great illustration. They didn't even take an opportunity to take advantage of that big play.
There's a resume of this outstanding linebacking core. Look at that. 7-time All-Pros, Carson. Taylor 5 times in a row. Reasons. He's probably not as well known as the rest, but he's very smart at that middle linebacking spot. Third down. Lomax. Nice turnaround change of direction by J.T. Smith, and that'll be a first down grab for the 35.
Well, there's another illustration. That time they had one-on-one coverage, the same as they had the time before, and they threw the ball out there and got a big play, you see? You got to take advantage of those opportunities when they come. Look at the pressure. Look at Marshall coming away around the outside. Got time to throw the football, however, and Mark Collins is licked on the play. He gets up and finally makes the tackle from the backside.
That will be a 26-yard completion to the 35-yard line. J.T. Smith, who played so well for the Kansas City Chiefs, kind of a rebirth for him since he's come here to St. Louis. In '81, he was an All-Pro. He had 63 catches for KC. At the 35, first down. Farrell running against the grain and backs close to the 30-yard line. Hank, I think your point's a good one. You know, everybody talks about you play 60 minutes of football, but you only get so many plays. You only get so many opportunities with the field position.
You have to sell your team on the idea that, you know, really in a game, you might get 10 or 12 opportunities for those big plays, and you got to take advantage of it. At least you got to try to make those big plays. You hit 3, you hit 4, that's 28 points.
Opportunities get away from you. You're still waiting to call the play you didn't ever get to.
You're right.
Second down now, 5.
Now here they are, bump and run again, you see?
Nothing develops. And he gets inside the 30 to the 29. He got all of 2 yards, and it's down to a third down again. Gary Reasons is out of the ball game right now. Robbie Jones, number 51, has replaced him, an inside linebacker. Third down and 4.
I tell you one thing, you can't say enough about how well coordinated that defensive team of the New York Giants is. They're really a great football team. And I think any time that you play that well defensively and your specialty teams are playing well, you got a chance to win everything. You got a chance to win any time you play. And in the meantime, your offense is not hitting on all cylinders, but at least you got something to improve on. And as long as you keep winning, that's really the only thing that really matters.
Defense can keep it close. There's Lomax on 3rd and 4. He's got Chaz Fox, but he can't shake him. Good defensive effort that time as the coverage didn't materialize very well, as coming over was Perry Williams on the play.
He got a shove coming across. The official did not see it. And Fox was squeaking a little bit about pass interference, but they didn't see it, didn't call it.
So Williams, who had the big hit earlier, this time gets away, as Hank said, with a little extracurricular activity. So we're going to have a field goal attempt coming up. This will be a 47-yarder by John Lee. Lee earlier hitting on one from 30 yards.
And Lee says he thinks he's going to kick much better from here on in because he's finally got a holder. Prior to last week's game, he's had 4 holders: Bruner, Coleman, Austin, and Birdsong.
It's Austin now, who did not hold, by the way, when he was in college. Lee's kick is on the way, and it is good. So John Lee is 2 for 2 today as he makes a comeback. He cuts it down to 13-6 in favor of the Giants. It's got to be a relief, John Lee. He's 2 for 2 today, 1 of 30, 1 of 47 yards. Number 2 draft pick out of UCLA, and we're going to talk more about John as this game goes on, how successful he was in college. Here comes McConkey, and McConkey brings it out to the 30. Talking about John Lee, if you look at his college career, Hank, it was absolutely as perfect as you could probably get. He hit such a high percentage of his field goals. Look at this. College-wise, 85, 88 his senior year. Now he's picked it up a little bit. He's 4 of 8. But there's a lot involved in that.
Well, you know, the thing that was interesting yesterday when I talked to him, he said, you know, in college, he said, I had a guy who was on scholarship who just snapped the ball back. I had another guy on scholarship who just was supposed to hold the ball for me. And as a result, everything was very consistent. He said, when I came into pro football, I thought it'd be the same, but really I had guys holding for me that never held before, and guys who snapped the ball who never did it before, and as a result, it's really been a problem. Now he feels, however, that everything is back, should be back in the groove, and he ought to kick very well because finally they have settled on a hold.
2nd and 10. He was giving me static. I did a lot of his college games. He said every time CBS showed up, he said I got psyched out because I didn't kick well on CBS. But that now has gone to the wayside. He's 2 of 2 today.
No, he didn't blame it on CBS. He blamed it on you.
Let's get down to the real bare facts.
Yeah, that's right.
2nd down, 10 from the 30. Flag on the play. Morris, 35, and about a yard short of the first down. But the penalty flag thrown just about the time the play got underway.
You know, I was talking to Johnny Parker on the field before the game, and I said, who was the strongest guys on your team? And he said, Joe Morris, Leonard Marshall, and Jim Burt. 3 of them. Said I didn't want to pick one or the other, but they're all 3 very, very strong.
Now, you wouldn't think Morris would be in that category, would you?
Well, surprising, you see, but he's got, you know, he's got such a great torso, short legs. He doesn't have to that high to lift the thing up, you know. But
53 on the defense is offside, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Freddie Joe Nunn guilty of that penalty.
The problem is, you know, a lot of people don't believe in squats, full squats. We believed in them very strongly at Kansas City. We had a great strength coach in Alvin Roy who kind of initiated what's happening in professional football today. Johnny Parker is a student of Alvin Roy, and he's done a remarkable job with these people, but he does a lot of squatting. And remember, you can't shoot a cannon out of a canoe, and so you got to have a good base.
Oh, wait a minute. You got to chase that one back. I didn't catch that one.
I'll talk it, give it to you slowly the next one.
2nd and 5 after the penalty. Morris fumbles the ball at the 40-yard line. I believe it's been blown dead. Yep, down at the point of impact, just short of the 40-yard line. Again, this reminder, coming up, 2nd half of our doubleheader. Game 2, the Denver Broncos, John Elway against Herschel Walker and the Dallas Cowboys. And those of you in the New York area will not see the 2nd game due to the NFL contractual agreement. Danny White not going to play. Tony Dorsett is questionable as Denver off undefeated in the early going. Cowboys, of course, have handed the Giants their only loss thus far this year. 3rd down and a yard to go. Mishandled snap, and that's going to cost them, and they're going to have to punt the football. Sims able to come up with it.
You know what happened on the play? It looked like, Gary, they came up quickly to go on a quick count, and they're trying to go so quickly that they'd missed the exchange between the center and the quarterback and fumbled the snap. I think that's what happened. He gets under there and starts a reverse pivot, doesn't have possession of the ball. You know, as a quarterback, the first thing you have to do when you get the ball from the center is bring it into your body and then take it back out and hand it. He didn't have a chance to do that, fumble the ball, and as a result, they blow the opportunity to make a 1st down.
Cardinals figure to come out of here with good field position. That's Sukahima at the 20.
Look at that.
And Dennis, he's taking that all the way in the 10 and fumble the ball. The Cardinals are going to get on it. As going down there was Lasker. Lasker was down there so fast that Sukahima had put some pressure on him. Carl Carter eventually was able to fall on the football. 41. Let's look at it again.
Carter, I tell you, did a very wise thing in not trying to pick it up and run with it. Watch it. You know what happened that time? It hit his shoulder pads, bounced off, hit him in the helmet, bounced off again. And watch Carter, and watch now. Watch what happens. Look, it hits his shoulder pad, bounces up in the air, hits him in the head. Now watch Carter very wisely, number 41. He didn't try to pick it up. He just lies on the ball, and he has possession, 1st and 10.
But not good field position. Gary Bender, Hank Stram, 1:51 to go in the 3rd quarter. The Giants have the Cards backed up at the 7-yard line.
They're double tight end. Now they've reduced it. This would be a good time to try to get something up on top there. Man-for-man coverage and try to get a big play from down in this territory. Let's see what they do. Nope, counter play.
This time, Anderson brings it out to the 10. There's a penalty flag. We may have a face mask on that one. Kenny Hill is over there.
A gum grabber that time, I think, Gary. A gum grabber.
It'll shake your gums up a little bit, won't it?
Yeah, face mask.
That'll be a break for the Cardinals. That'll give them the 1st down, or what?
Face mask defense on the tackle. It's a 5-yard penalty. Added to the end of the run. Will repeat 1st down.
Watch the right guard and the right tackle pulling on the play. Lance Smith, number 61, pulling, running to the outside. Is able to use his straight arm because he's got the ball away from pressure. There's the face mask penalty, and they get a 1st down on the play.
They didn't get a 1st down. The penalty wasn't enough, Hank. So it's 1st down and a yard to go. I thought that as well. But 5 yards tacked on to the run was not sufficient to be a 10-yard gain. So it's 1st and a yard. And they will go for that 1st down. Farrell trying to get it. Kind of had it down to play with their coach, but they wanted to try to get a new series going for him. Fancying it out, it will be 2nd down. They didn't get it. 2nd down, less than a yard to go. That punt a while ago, we should go back. Lendetta's punt, that last one that was handled by Sukahima, was 57 yards. He's averaged 48.6 today.
And the hang time was 5.45. I tell you, he's really a fantastic kicker. Got a great temperament, too, for a kicker. Talking to him on the field before the game. He knows exactly what he wants to do and how to do it. And has a terrific disposition.
On a 2nd down, in a matter of inches, Womack going to throw it to Chaz Fox, but no connection is made.
You know, Gary, one thing about Lomax that I've noticed, I think sometimes you're not careful. You don't know who you are and what your abilities and skill are. He came into the league with great running escapability skill and put a lot of pressure on defenses. And all of a sudden, then you never saw him run very much. And even now, he does not run nearly as much as I think he should, because, you know, everybody's defense on the offensive part of the football team, except one guy, and that's the quarterback. And there has to be a time where he's going to make some big plays on his own, you say. But he is not doing that for the Cardinals. He stays in the pocket, basically. And even when he runs with the express purpose of throwing the football.
Of course, if you had a Roy Green and a Pat Tilley out there, you might feel that they could run back and get open on those kind of plays. Maybe he doesn't have that confidence of those other guys.
Well, that's the case. That's the point I'm making. And then he should run the ball more than he has.
See, did they get the 1st down here? On a 3rd down and less than a yard. So they tried 2 smashes straight ahead. Neither one of them produced a yard. They're going to have to measure, I believe.
I think as good as this defense of the Giants is, really, that you have to use some misdirection. You have to keep them off balance a little bit with something other than just plain vanilla shots straight at the defense.
Well, Neil Lomax told us they're a little bit vanilla right now due to the fact of the inexperience of the wide receivers. You believe this, Hank? They were 1st and a yard to go. They had 3 plays, and they're going to have to end up punting the football. That'll come back to haunt you. The big play of this game has been that pass interference call on Washington that set the only touchdown of the game up at the 1-yard line.
See, the thing that this does now, it provides the Giants with good field position again. And here again, the Giants have to do they must do a much better job of taking advantage of field position than they have.
Rapastathis to McConkey. McConkey to the 40, and Rapastathis is over there with somebody else to make the stop just short of the 35. And so the Giants get excellent field position. And the Cardinals let one get away from them. No question about it. 42-yard punt. McConkey with an excellent return to the 36-yard line. Not a lot of passing yards for the Giants, but they're still on top in this game, 13-6.
Yeah, that's the thing, as I mentioned. You know, those stats don't mean a thing. The only thing that matters is win the game. You can always do something about the mistakes. You can't do anything about the score.
Here's Morris, and a penalty flag, 2 of them thrown. Morris to the 35-yard line, picked up about a yard. I just think that the Cardinals really don't believe right now. That 1st and 1 kind of proved that to me. There just didn't seem to be a take-charge situation that last series. That's to be expected. You're 0-4. Things are not going well.
Well, that's a challenge to your offensive line. You know, you got to
holding
a short yard or a half a yard or inches to go. Somehow, some way, that offensive line has got to come off the ball, get a surge, and you got to make the yardage. They just haven't been able to do that.
This penalty against the Giants, a holding call, 10 yards, moves it back now to the 47. It was Nelson and Bavaro both called for that. And we have come to the end of the 3rd quarter with the score. The Giants 13, the Cardinals 6. We now pause for a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Hewlett-Packard, the people who turn your business computing problem into a business computing solution. RCA technology that excites the senses. And by Transamerica for insurance and financial services. The power of the pyramid is working for you.
The Giants have it, 1st down and 20. Sims back, penalty flag. The catch is made by Bob Johnson at the 35-yard line. Lionel Washington making the stop. But a penalty flag back at the 45.
Got to be holding, I would guess, from where they threw the flag. Anytime you see it thrown back there, it's a holding penalty.
So the Giants now having some problems mechanically. That's 2 penalties on this series. They had a 1st and 20 prior to this one. Bill Parcells, who has had a vast career as an assistant in the NFL, head coach at Air Force. We asked him yesterday, Hank, who had influenced him the most.
Offense, 10 yards, 1st down.
He said it was his high school basketball coach, Mickey Corcoran. Said he gave me an attitude of just getting it done. Says so often people have rotating excuses, but a high school basketball coach, interesting, you never know who's going to influence you the most.
Well, you win and lose for the same reasons at all levels of competition. There may be a difference, you know, who you talk to. If they're successful people, they're going to all tell you basically the same thing.
1st and 30, Nikanoga over there to make the stop, the Hawaiian, and we had an interesting story about this guy.
Well, Nikanoga, you know, talking to him yesterday, last year I said, Nika, what do you do during the off season? He says, I get ready for the next season. So when I talked to him the other day, I said, well, what did you do from last season to this season to get ready for the season? Well, he said, I work out 6 days a week for 3 hours a day, and sometimes I get mad at my wife because she doesn't let me work out. I got to run some errands, and I really get mad about that. He said, but that's what I do during the off season. What a guy.
He looks mad all the time to me.
Well, when he started talking about being mad at his wife, I backed away with him. He's going to get back at me.
On a 2nd and 31, Joe Morris gets a bunch of it back to the 45. Larry Wilson, who's the director of their pro scouting for the Cardinals, told me, he said, the first 2 years that Noga reported to camp, they found him sleeping in the lobby. And he came up to him and he says, why do you sleep in the lobby? He says, I do not like the confinement of the room. And so after the 3rd year, they quit getting him a room when he checked into camp. But he's one of those guys who
he's unusual. Yeah, he's very unusual. Now he's in a honeydew diet.
He's a what?
Honeydew diet. His wife says, honey, do this and do that. That's what he doesn't like when he just misses those workouts.
3rd and 19.
Look at the pass protection. Look at all the time he's got to throw the ball.
And he connects, and the ball is jarred loose and picked up by Wayne Smith. So the Cardinals come out of that one in excellent shape. The long gainer. The catch made by Bobby Johnson. Hit from behind, jarred loose, and Wayne Smith fielded it, and the Cardinals have it at the 10.
You talk about how crazy things work out. Look at all the time he's got to throw the ball. He's looking all over the place. He could be in a rocking chair back there and still get it off. Watch, look at all the time. finally throws over here to Bob Johnson, makes the catch, gets up the field. Watch what happens here. He gets hit from behind by Cedric Mack. The ball pops out of his hand. Smith, number 44, Wayne Smith, makes the fumble recovery, and now it's 1st and 10 St. Louis.
Not to be confused with Ozzie Smith, who's a pretty good shortstop here for the Cardinals. But Wayne Smith in this time picks it up, and at the 10, the Cardinals come out of that one, and they've got to be happy with what developed on that play. Here's Farrell. Farrell for 2. That's about all to the 12-yard line. Don't forget, college football next Saturday here on CBS. Again, Michigan State and Michigan. A battle for the bragging rights in the state of Michigan. Last year, Michigan won. They're unbeaten going into this one. And again, we hate to even think about this, but Lorenzo White is questionable for that game. He sustained a knee injury in the second half. So we'll update you, and hopefully he'll be ready for that one.
I'm going to tell you something, Gary. These linemen of St. Louis are all about 6'3", 6'4". They keep running those same plays. They're going to be about 5'11" after this game.
Not to mention the running back, huh? Second down now, 8 yards to go. Farrell in motion. This is O.J. Anderson. And Otis takes it to the 15-yard line. Harry Williams reading it effectively, and it's going to be a 3rd down and still 5 yards to go.
Coach Parcells, I'd be concerned, because right now, even though they're doing a good job of containing the Cardinals, they're still just one play from being back in the game. It's a very dangerous situation to be in, especially in a game where you're supposed to be winning the game big.
So the Cardinals on a 3rd down will go to the shotgun this time. 3 wideouts on this play. Lomax. That's enough for the 1st down, and a good move then by Marsh, the tight end. And Marsh has the 1st down, and that's going to make Bill Parcells even more concerned.
Doug Marsh comes off the line of scrimmage, number 80. There you see him in the slot with Banks covering him one-on-one. He gets Banks turned to the inside, breaks outside. The ball is low, but he makes the catch, gets up the field, and picks up about 7 more yards on the play.
They had him split out on that play. Using some of his experience, he has 4 catches, you can see.
Well, Banks, you know, they're trying to cover him one-on-one, and that's a tough assignment for a linebacker.
1st down at the 28. Chaz Fox in motion. Anderson will advance to the 30-yard line.
Anderson, the ball carrier.
O.J. Anderson, 5 100-yard days in previous contests against the Giants. We mentioned he was trying to approach 8,000 yards rushing in his career. Closing in on Larry Zonka in the all-time rushing list. He needed 138 yards in the top 10 to move in the top 10 all-time.
Cardinals, the way that defense of the Giants is chasing, somewhere along the line when they get better field position, they've got to run a reverse, some kind of a misdirection play that give them a chance to make a big play.
Lomax 13 of 22 now for 140 yards. Mishandled snap.
I don't know how you can do that in professional football. I really don't understand that. I really
have no tolerance at all for that, do you? That's the second time we've seen it today.
It'd be different if the center had to snap the ball back like he used to in a single wing, but the quarterback's right underneath there, you know, and he's telling them where his hands are and everything, and they still can't make the connection exchange between the center and quarterback. That's hard to believe.
Now, Dawson never had any trouble doing that?
You know, I'm sure, if, you know, be honestly involved in it, I'm sure that there were times when that happened, but very, very few times that ever happened with our football team. We used to spend a lot of time off season just between the center and the quarterback making the exchange. Frank Leahy used to say, you know, I want to do that during the off season so much that the quarterback's hands will bleed. That's how much they worked on.
On a 3rd down and long yardage, Lomax will be sacked for a loss. That's Leonard Marshall, who led everybody in that department. Marshall's been a little frustrated this year. He's been getting some double teaming and not getting the sacks that he had early last year, but he got one there.
Well, I think what's happening, they're turning out on the backside with him to make sure they block he and Taylor. Turning out means that the guard will block the defensive end and the tackle will block the linebacker. So they turn out and they don't give him a chance to come off the line of scrimmage as quickly as they'd like to.
He's earned some respect, and he's, as an end result, being paid for it. to the quarterback. That time he did. Well, that was almost had a block. Just barely got it underway. And Conkey will be dropped at the 36-yard line. Let's look at the block. It was Andy Hedden, Hank, who almost got to the ball.
I couldn't tell again whether he got too deep, but here again, see, he didn't spread out. You got to lay out horizontal to the ground if you're going to block a kick. He was too vertical that time, and that's why he didn't get out in front enough to block the kick.
Joe Morris that time off the right-hand side. We have 8 minutes, 48 seconds left in this game. 13-6. The Giants lead the Cardinals. Giants beating St. Louis twice last year. And the ball will be now at the 42-yard line. Second down and 6 coming up. Attendance today, 40,562. This will be the 4th in a row if the Giants win here. And then it's Philadelphia at home. Then they go to Seattle. In motion is Solomon Miller. Morris again. And Morris is close to the 45-yard line, a couple of yards short of the first down, bringing up third.
It's very obvious, talking to Bill Parcells yesterday, that he wanted to get the running backs a lot of work because they missed some practice, specifically Joe Morris. They want to get him back in the groove, get him back in a rhythm, back in sync, and they're going to use as many running plays, I'm sure, as they possibly can to try to improve that relationship with the offensive line and the running backs.
Joe has one 100-yard game this year, 110 against the Raiders. He was 6th in the NFC in rushing coming into today, despite missing last week. Third down and 2. Morris going to try to pick up the first down, and he did, but there's a penalty flag. Did you see how he kind of squatted under on that play? He used that 5'7" stature to good accord.
Well, he was about 3'5" going through that hole that time, as low as he was. But I think there was a holding penalty on the play. Again, anytime you see that flag drop in that area, it's holding.
That's what it is. It's against the Giants, so the first down will be negated, and they'll go the other way. Well, I think you said it well. When you're Bill Parcells' team, you didn't want the Cardinals to stay this close this long, especially when you're on the road.
Holding, offense, number 65, 10 yards, third down.
See, the other thing you don't want to do when you're playing away from home, you don't want to get the crowd to get involved in the game, and this crowd's been in the game all afternoon. They squeaked a little bit during the course of the game, but overall they've been pretty good and pretty receptive to the St. Louis Cardinals, and that's one thing that when you visit another area, you want to get them out of the game as soon as you can.
Giants have had 7 penalties for 50 yards. That's something that Bill Parcells will squeak about when they get into the film session this week. I'm starting to talk like you, Coach. Third down now, 12.
Thank goodness.
Sims, Bobby Johnson, and broken up by Lonnie Young. Close, but they didn't get it. Let's go to New York. Here's Brent Musburger.
Well, Gary, the wide receiver who's having a monstrous day is Keith Ortego of the Chicago Bears. 6 catches for 157 yards. This one for 58 yards, and he and Jim McMahon hook up for the touchdown that makes it 20-0. Bears with the lead, about 10 minutes to go. Let's go back to Gary and Hank.
All right, Brent. Ortego was battling for his life to make that Bears final cut, and what a day he's having. So they miss on that third down. Landetta hits it very high. Sukahima has this one. He probably had a chance for a run back there. Very conservatively, he called for the fair catch, and the Cardinals have it at the 20.
I think that ball came down with some ice on it. He kicked it high, didn't he?
Didn't he? 45-yard punt will set it up at the 20. So the Cardinals still in this football game with 7:09 left to go. Busch Stadium, St. Louis, 7:09 to go. The Cardinals 80 yards away. They trail by 7.
I don't think they're going to win the game, run out the middle like they've been doing, Gary. They've got to do something to disjoint that defense a little bit and take some chances to get back in this contest.
You get a little concerned about that, the way they've been trying to do that. Let's see what they do here. Lomax disappears from sight, gets rid of it somehow to Farrell, and they get a yard or two. Harry Carson over there. Carson just seems to get better with age. 7 times in the last 8 years he's been in the Pro Bowl.
Farrell ran like he had snowshoes on that time. It took a long time to get started. I think the fact that he had the flu during the week has weakened him a little bit and slowed him down.
The snowshoes are tough to run in, Coach. 2nd down and 8. Lomax that time was lucky to get rid of the ball. He didn't even appear in sight there for a while, and all of a sudden he shovels one out. There's his stats for the day, the 1 interception. 2nd down, 8 from the 22. Pressure put on. Martin was in his face, but he got it off to Farrell, and the flu-ridden Farrell is very close to the 1st down, and in fact, I believe he's got it.
Pass complete, World Farrell. Tackle by Collins.
See, they fake a play action again this time and get Farrell into the flat. He throws the ball right over the top of Martin. Talking about Lomax, it's a wonder he got rid of the ball as well as he did, because Martin was getting good penetration and was right in his face on the play, number 75.
So a 1st down to the 32 now for the Cardinals. 5:44 left in the game. Lomax to Anderson. He's got the pulling Sharp ahead of him. He got the block he needed, and he's got the 1st down.
Boy,
Louis Sharp did a fine job on that play.
That was a counter play. Louis Sharp, number 67, the left tackle was pulling to his right and really threw a great block in the open field. Watch the block that he makes to provide good running room for Anderson. Watch, here he comes. Look at 67. Good running position, pumping the arms, good and low, makes a good shot on Kenny Hill, number 48, that provides a running room for O.J. Anderson.
6'4", 260, running like that in the open field. You can see why Kenny Hill just went down and tried to take the block on as best he could. 1st down now at the 45. Lomax to Anderson again.
Banks, boy, what a great player he is. Well, of course, you know, they're all doing such a great job, but Banks has really improved a great deal from a year ago. I guarantee you that. Banks, number 58. Watch him, number 58, coming across, reading the play, eludes the block, gets to the inside, and makes the tackle. See, the linebacker, the back had good position on him, but he gave him a little dipsy-do inside and made the tackle.
They just close on you. Banks, the leading tackler coming into this game, had 11 solo tackles this year against the Raiders. 3rd-year man out of Michigan State. From the 47, 2nd down now, 7 yards to go.
They got to get the ball to their tight end a little bit more than they have to. Doug Marsh.
Anderson into the giant end of the field, close to another 1st down. He's approaching 8,000 yards now in his career with that run. Let's see if he got the 1st down.
I guarantee you, Anderson, had he been playing in Los Angeles or New York,
there it is, 8,001, Hank. Go ahead.
Had he been playing in Los Angeles or New York, or a team that won consistently, everybody in the country would know an awful lot more about Anderson than they do right now.
Well, the next step is to move 10th all time. He needed 138 yards to go ahead of Larry Zonkin. 3rd down, they were a yard short from the 46 of New York. That's Ron Wolfley in motion. Penalty flag.
Was that too much time?
Well, what I'm wondering.
False start, right tackle, offense.
Boy, those just kill you, don't you? You've got a 3rd and 1, and now you're 3rd and 6, and you have to change your play call, I would assume. Boy, you think Gene Stallings hasn't lived a lifetime in the first 5 weeks of his rookie season?
He's probably looking for the gas pipe on that sideline.
From the 49 now, 3rd down and 6. To the near side. Marsh is split closer to the line, and further out is Chaz Fox.
The back is even with a quarterback safety. Nope, I guess they're going to throw it. Sometimes, here they go up on top.
Lomax to Smith. Collins is there. Smith's got it. You can't cover it much tighter than that, and still J.T. Smith made the catch.
You can't cover it any better than that. You can't throw it any better than that. He put the ball. You talk about putting it right on the money. Look at this. He makes a little move, and he doesn't get much of a bump on him. Talking about Collins. Look at the ball's coming right over the top. Now Collins starts to look for the ball a little bit too soon, but he still makes the catch. Goes right through there. You can't cover much better than that.
45 yards. Lomax, who's had to battle for everything he can get this year, joyously able to make the connection there. And you said it well. It was both ends of the deal. Very well done. The throwing and the receiving. First and goal now, 6-yard line.
This would be a good time for a play-action fake right here on play-action pass. See if they do it. No.
Anderson is stuck. There's just no place to go because Marshall waiting in the hole was there.
When you got first and goal in this situation, Gary, a first and 10 play-action pass can be very effective. It's the best time to throw the ball rather than wait till the obvious third and long situation to throw the pass.
Well, anyway, they back up at least a yard, maybe 2 on the play. It'll be second and goal at the 8-yard line.
See, on first and 10, you got an option of the run or the pass, and they don't know what's coming now. Second and long, they expect the pass, and of course you can be in trouble.
That makes sense. Stump Mitchell now into the game. Anderson comes out. Farrell and Mitchell in the backfield. This is Stump in motion. Second and goal. Lomax, end zone. No, he dropped it. He had it, I believe, and then dropped it. J.T. Smith, who made the outstanding catch earlier, Hank, he had both feet in. He had it momentarily. Let's look at it again.
Let's see what happens. Here's 84, left part of your screen, comes into the inside. Now he breaks to the outside. They're rolling out on the play. Well, you can't see it very well.
But the official, I think, was ready to give it to him. And then,
here we are. We'll get a better shot of it. He gets pushed off out to the outside. Double front and back, and the inside. You still can't see it very well. They had double coverage on it. They had the right coverage.
They had the right play call, too. But
they might put that on the machine upstairs, Gary.
You think that's what they're going to do? That's what we're doing. Yeah. We're having our second replay now. The Cardinals, of course, glad they have another shot at it. Let's look at this one. Both feet were in, but there it gets away. What do you think?
Well, it looks like he had possession inside the playing field and lost it when he way out. School's out after.
So let's see what the determination is going to be. Again, Art McNally.
From what I could see of that picture, I would think it's a touchdown, but you don't get a good view of it, but evidently not.
Nope. Standing, incomplete.
See, you don't see it very well. There.
I don't think he had it.
The only thing is, they must not have had possession of it when he went out. Had he had possession, you have to have both feet in and also possession. And from the angle we saw, you couldn't tell whether he had that possession.
Well, then watching the official, Hank, he was ready to give it to him. And then all of a sudden, as he disappeared out of bounds, it got away, and he almost in midair changed his signal. You can watch him down here.
Yeah, but you don't see the ball, you see. That's the problem. You don't see whether he has the ball or not, or whether it's sliding down underneath there. It looks like it is. And as a result, he doesn't. You've got to have both feet in and possession, and evidently he did not have possession.
Well, if it doesn't count, it's third and goal at the 8. Taking a long time, Hank, to determine what could be a touchdown.
The only question here is, did he have possession?
There's Art McNally, still looking at it.
Yep, Art McNally up there.
Supervisor of officials in the NFL.
Let's see if we can see the possession part of it. But you can't, you see. You really can't see it from that angle. But that's the question. Did he have possession or did he not? Definitely the first part of it, the feet were in. The next thing goes to the hands. Did he have possession? That's the questionable thing right now.
Well, the way the year's been going for Gene Stallings, I don't think he expects it to go in his favor. He's been talking about this all year long.
Well, the percentages are in his favor. All the bad ones the other way. The percentages are in their favor.
Well, we've had a considerable delay here.
I wish I could be more decisive and more conclusive, but I can't see what happened on the sideline. Watching the pictures.
Here we go.
See what they call.
After a review by the official upstairs, it is inconclusive. We will go with the play.
And that's fair because you can't tell it. See, See, there again, there you see the ball. Now he's got both feet inbound, and he has to have possession of the football before he goes out, and you can't tell whether I don't think you can tell, and it looks like the ball is sliding through, which means he didn't have possession.
I don't think he had possession. I really don't.
No,
the initial point was that you keep watching their replay, and you can certainly doubt yourself. 3rd and goal at the 8. We'll see if it's going to be a significant call. Lomax, incomplete. So now it's 4th and goal from the 8. Intended for Marsh, the tight end. Well, Hank, you've got 2:18. You just settle for the field goal here and then try to get another crack at it, or you go for it?
No, I think you got to go for it. I don't think with 2:18 left, you got a shot here. You got to go for. You got to take the shot.
Okay, that's what they're going to do. They're listening to you. 4th and goal from the 8. Chaz Fox will be split out. J.T. Smith to the near side. Marsh is in a slot to the left, now moving up from the shotgun formation.
They got to try to throw the ball to Marsh. He's one-on-one and looks like a linebacker to our left side.
The movement. Martin drawn off. We think it's Chilton, the right side guard, playing in place of the injured Bostic, and that's what it is.
5 yards.
Actually, Hank, it might give you a little more operating room on this next play.
Yeah, you got to throw the ball. It gives you a little bit more, another 5 yards. But, I think what they're going to try to do if they maintain the same coverage, they got Taylor out there one-on-one on Marsh, and the other 2 guys are double covered. So if you go to anybody, you want to go to Marsh single coverage with Taylor. Let's see if that's what they do.
So they have 5 more yards that the Giants have to defend if you want to look at it from the Cardinals' positive standpoint.
All right, it's the same thing. See, they're double covering the outside guy. It looks like you either got to go with the outside man or Marsh on the left side. Let's see what they do.
4th and goal from the 12. Lomax is going to have to hurry. Banks got him. Carl Banks stormed through, and the Cardinals' drive comes to a halt.
Well, you got to be critical, I'm sure, the people in St. Louis of the St. Louis offense. But here again, you've got to give that defense an awful lot of credit. Look at Martin. Look at Banks. But nobody touched Banks, see?
That's probably an understatement. Unscathed, he got through.
Reminder that for those of you watching this game, except for those of you in New York, you'll be seeing the Dallas Cowboys against the Denver Broncos. Now, next Sunday, the NFL Today will start at 12:30 Eastern Time. The Philadelphia Eagles, who are apparently going to upset Atlanta today, will be taking on the Giants. The Washington Redskins have an appointment in Dallas, and the St. Louis Cardinals will take on Tampa Bay. Our coverage starts at 12:30 p.m. or 3:30 Eastern Time on CBS. Now let's send you back to Gary Bender.
Brent, thank you very much. Hank, let's go back to that last series. So much happened, but you were very much on the situation on 1st and goal at the 8 that they went to a running play rather than throwing the football.
Well, they haven't been able to run the ball that well against the Giant defense, and now everything is reduced. The field is much shorter on the 8-yard line. You all those big people in that short area, small area. If you're going to succeed, you ought to throw the ball on 1st and 10. That's what I've always felt. And of course, if I knew anything about coaching, I'd still be coaching. So that's just an observation of the thing.
Well, you've got a better job now, right? Up to the 22. Well, Gene Stallings lost, you might recall, the first game of this year against the Rams at the 1-yard line when he ran out of time. So he's had 2 of his losses be decided right around that end zone area.
The tough thing is that, it's got to be frustrating for his team because they're playing hard. That's what you expect of it. The coach has to make that team play hard, and they got to play smart. They made a lot of mistakes there again today, but they played hard, but playing hard is not enough to win the game sometimes.
Well, it's going to be a 2nd down and 8 as we have 2:08 left to go in this game. Bill Sims and the Giants will be glad to take this 7-point lead home and win their 4th in a row. Tonight on CBS, the all-new 60 Minutes. Want to start a war? As long as the enemy are communists, a retired American 2-star general, now a civilian, will run your war for you. Meet him tonight on 60 Minutes. Then it's the conclusion of a 2-part Murder, She Wrote, followed by part 1 of The Last Frontier, starring Linda Evans and Jason Robards Jr. It's been murder year here today for the Cardinals.
Yeah, it really has been, but I tell you got to be impressed with that New York Giant team. And I talked to Billy Belichick, the defensive coordinator of the Giants, last night, and he said, you know, we're going to make them play football, and we're going to make them earn everything they get, and that's exactly what they've done here this afternoon. They've made them earn everything, and that hasn't been enough to get the job done.
You got to win games like this, don't you, Hank, to get the Super Bowl?
Yeah, it doesn't make any difference. This, as I said, I hate to belabor the point, but just win the game. Don't worry about anything. Just win the game, because you can always do something about the mistakes. You can't do anything about the score.
Joe Morris across the 25 to the 26.
Plus the fact, as a coach, he gives you a lot of good reasons to get on your team to make sure that they understand they can't take it easy, that it's tough ahead, they got to work and they got to struggle and all those kind of things, because it means an awful lot. As long as you keep winning, those things make a lot of sense.
A 2-minute warning now has just been executed, or will be. Of course, we have game 2 of this doubleheader coming up. Dallas and Denver, key interconference matchup. Denver hosts this guy, Herschel Walker, who just gets better every game. Walker, of course, was so tough on the Giants in the first game of this year, and John Elway, I don't think there's any better in the National Football League playing that position. That's next. Cowboys and Broncos coming up here on CBS Sports. So Phil Simms looks as though his string is going to end of throwing a touchdown pass in 9 straight games. The only touchdown today, a Joe Morris 1-yard run.
Well, he could care less about that. The only thing he's just happy about, going to be happy about in 2 minutes if they win the game, that's the only thing that really bothers him or concerns him.
Let's document some of the mistakes that have occurred in this game as far as the Cardinals are concerned. Of course, some of the strategy involved is, in the estimation of the coach, not been too wise, but look at this. Quarterback sacks allowed, penalty yards, 95. It all seemingly comes in bunches. 3rd down now, 4 yards to go. Simms, interesting to come out throwing here, Hank. Incomplete. Does that surprise me? Stops the clock, brings up 4th down, and gives the Cardinals a new chance.
Yep, 158. But that's what they want to do. They want to get a 1st down to keep possession. They drop the ball. That's all that happened.
Hank, a guy who grew up in this area, Yogi Berra, said it ain't over until it's over, and it isn't over. The Cards are still in this thing.
They are, and they have to make some decisions right now, Gary. They have to decide whether they should rush the kicker or drop off. In my opinion, they should just drop off and hope for the good field position, because they might rush the kicker and have a penalty involved. See?
Well, the Giants did not play conservatively on that 3rd down. They were looking for the 1st down, stopped the clock. With a minute 58, the Cardinals will get it. Landeta to punt it. Sakahima backpedals, fumbles it at the 30, gets to the 35, and he gets a very fine return to the 41-yard line with a minute 47 left. 3 timeouts. Check that. 1 timeout now left for St. Louis. The line of scrimmage will be the 41-yard line with a minute 47 left to go.
St. Louis first and 10. Their own 42.
The 3 timeouts here now.
There's
They got
only one.
Yeah,
for
I'm
St.
sorry.
Louis.
They got 1
3 for New
timeout.
York.
Yeah. So they've really got to try to keep the ball outside, moving the ball down the field. And if they catch one in the middle, then of course they have to huddle up quickly or use one of their timeouts.
Lomax. There's up the middle though, and Anderson. Good second effort. Fumble the ball. Hit from behind, and who's got it? The Giants have recovered at their own 48-yard line. Gene Stallings is going to have to wait another week to pick up his first NFL victory. They will go to Tampa Bay next week. He's not showing a lot of emotion there, but boy, he's got to be churning inside.
Well, of course, here again, you have to give the New York Giants an awful lot of credit. They made the reception, and they knocked the ball loose from a very outstanding running back, Otis Anderson. And but here again, that was a great job on the part of the defense of the Giants.
At the 48 now, they'll just kill the remaining time. St. Louis with only 1 timeout. Sims going down.
That's the other problem, Gary, I mentioned. You got to try to throw the ball outside. You throw it in the middle. There's so many people around the middle area that if you do have a problem, like the one that just existed, or a tip ball, you're going to wind up with an interception or a fumble recovery. I was surprised that they threw the ball inside on the very first play with only one timeout left.
For those of you in the New York area, next Sunday it'll be Buddy Ryan's Eagles against the Giants. And you know, the Eagles last week jumped on top of the Rams 34-0 after losing their first 3 games. And this game shapes up now as going to be a real struggle.
Well, a lot of people have the wrong impression about Philadelphia. You say they lose for their first 3 games, but they're just learning that 46. They're responding very, very well to Buddy Ryan. We saw him last week, and they played extremely well against the Rams. They're going to have a lot more success than people thought they were going to have, and they could be very effective from here on in because they've got a lot of good football players, a great defensive line, 2 good running backs, an excellent tight end in Spagnola, a fine quarterback, a good defensive backs. They could be dangerous.
So at the 45, no timeouts left now for the Cardinals. With 1:30 left in the game. Bill Parcells with this victory will even out at 500, 28-1. And this guy will be 0-5. But if there's any solace in this, his team played a much better football game than they did Monday night.
No solace.
No solace. You speak of experience.
That's right.
Well, we have a little unhappiness now down below as 1:23 left in the game. Let's go back to New York. Here's Brent Musburger.
Well, Gary, as some baseball fans in the New York area already know, Don Mattingly gave it his best shot today and went 2 for 1. He winds up 357 to Mattingly's 352. Next up for the Red Sox, the playoffs against the California Angels. Back to Gary.
Brent, I will tell Bill Parcells about that. He was concerned whether Boggs was going to win the batting title. As we said earlier, he's a big Red Sox fan. They got everything smoothed out here. Cooler heads have prevailed, and we'll continue down the last 1 minute of this game.
That was one of those boys will be boys deals. You know, nothing really happened.
I want to thank our producer, Bob Dekas, our director, Peter Bleckner, associate director, Richard Drake, our father, Bob Brennan, our statistician, Danny Moore, for their help today. They were all over this game. So the time winding down. A bitter pill for Gene Stallings and the Cardinals. Tampa Bay coming up next for them. The Giants doesn't get any easier with Philadelphia and Seattle, but Bill Parcells' team now has won 4 in a row, 4-1 on the year.
I reiterate again, Gary, watch the Eagles because they have a lot of potential. They're going to create a lot of problems for teams.
I don't think you need to tell that because Bill was convinced this was going to be a tough game. You won't have to tell him that next week will be that way. Well, I've seen this guy grow a lot. I went to school with Bill Parcells, and what an outstanding coach he is and is becoming. We spent a couple hours visiting with him, and it was a very informative time to kind of pick his brain and to see where he's coming from and the years of maturity. The Giants, who were favored to win this NFC East by most people at the start of the year, still will be a game back of the Redskins, who won today. Denver and Dallas will be coming up next. The Giants have got the clock stopped with 7 seconds to go. Elway and Walker, there's a couple of headliners, huh, Coach?
Well, Elway is really a franchise player, and he's getting better and better all the time. I think he's going to be one of the great quarterbacks of the National Football League. Maybe this year and certainly in years to come. He's terrific.
That game will not be seen in New York City because of our NFL contractual agreement. Next week in New York, you'll see the Eagles and the Giants. Last 7 seconds.
Giants 4th and 19 at their own 45.
So the Giants, who last year defeated the Cardinals 27-17 and 34-3, going to pull this one out and go back to the city, the 13-6, and here's Sims throwing the football. Why in the world seconds left. Coach, I call upon your expertise.
I don't have any expertise in that particular case. I don't understand it either. I can't understand why they would do what they just did.
Well, with 2 seconds left now, it's going to give the ball to the Cardinals. The Cardinals are going to have it at the 35-yard line. Well, they've got a chance for one of those Big Ben plays here. There's the update. Washington winning today.
That's incredible. I can't understand it either.
I absolutely, and it's mind-boggling. They've got a crack at pulling this game out on the last play of the game. There's movement again.
Very sharp.
Holy cow, that was a costly penalty earlier. They had a movement when they were inside the 10.
And he's too big to hide.
Yeah, he tried to hide.
Start, number 67, offense, simulated the start of a play.
Well, Hank, when we leave this game, I'm going to have you explain why they did that. We've got to think about this one.
No, don't ask me. Ask Parcells. I didn't throw the ball. Ask him why they did it.
Well, anyway, wouldn't this be something if the Cardinals here from their own, or from the Giants 40, could pull this game out?
Maybe they threw with the idea they hoped they would intercept it and the game would be over.
Lomax, last gasp effort, not well thrown, up and broken up, and that'll do it. So an unusual finish to this game. Mark Collins defending on the play. So once again, the final score, the New York Giants 13, the St. Louis Cardinals 6. Don't forget, coming up next.